And then thereafter, they shall also make a decision regarding another report of the Committee of the Whole House that considered the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Number 3 Bill of the National Assembly. Thereafter, there is a motion, a procedural one, to be moved by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. This one speaks to extension of time for consideration of a specified petition. And members will be making a decision whether they will extend the period for consideration of a public petition on human-wildlife conflict in Kibwezi East constituency. It is currently before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. They'll be seeking another 30 days with effect from the 25th of September 2019 in order for them to comprehensively prosecute this issue. Yet another outstanding motion is one on the revised sessional paper, number 1 of the year 2019, on the policy framework for reforming education and training for sustainable development in Kenya. There is also another motion on approval of petition by the executive for variation of the boundaries of Mount Elgon Forest Reserve. It is a live broadcast brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, a broadcast that you can follow live on YouTube. There is a live stream there. It is also being relayed, the audio version in Kiswahili on KBC Radio Taifa, also available on Bunge TV on Signet. Your sign language interpreter will be Gideon Mbogo. My name is Vereso.
Of those whose interest you've committed to our charge. Amen. Other members, we have the required quorum and therefore business will begin.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Those members making their way, kindly please take your seats because I have a communication to make. Order members, I have a communication to make on guidance on the consideration of the 2 Senate bills that are before us. Honorable members, as you may recall, on 12 September 2019, I conveyed to the House a message from the Senate regarding passage of the Local Content Bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2018, and the Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 32 of 2018. Honorable members, following the first reading of the 2 bills on 18th September 2019, I did undertake to pronounce my opinion with respect to the money bill effects of the 2 bills pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 143-2, which provides that following the, and I quote, following the first reading, the Speaker shall, within reasonable time, pronounce his or her opinion as contemplated under Article 114(2) of the Constitution. Now, therefore, having received the advice of the competent office in the parliamentary service, I have made a determination that the 2 bills are money bills within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution. They therefore stand referred to the Budget and Appropriation Committee for consideration and advice on the manner in which the House ought to proceed with the bills. pursuant to provisions of Article 109(5) and 114 of the Constitution, as read together with Standing Order 143. Honorable members, the House is thus accordingly guided. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
This particular one, the Leader of Majority, you have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, September 24th, 2019. First, the first quarter report from the EACC covering the period from 1st January to 31st March 2019. And 2, the Defense Cooperation Agreement between the Government of the Republic of Kenya and the Government of the Republic of South Africa and the explanatory memoranda from the Ministry of Defense. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So let's go to the next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
On this particular one, we have some questions. We don't seem to have a statement. So we'll start with the ordinary questions. And starting as of this afternoon is the member for Homa Bay Town, Honorable Peter Opondo Kaluma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask question number 335 of 2019. The question, Speaker, is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. Number 1, would the Cabinet Secretary explain why there is no technical and vocational educational and training institution in Homa Bay Town sub-county? Number 2, are there plans by the Ministry to ensure establishment of a technical vocational training institution in the sub-county? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Then that one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Next, we'll go to the member for Embakasi Central, Honorable Benjamin Mwangi. And I must confirm that actually I am aware that there is a statement request which will be made by Honorable Wilson Sossion. So let's have the member to ask the question. Member for Embakasi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 400 of 2019, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. Number 1, has the Housing Finance Group transferred the ownership of 5-acre land it allotted for development of public schools in Embakasi, in Komorok Ward in Embakasi Central constituency? Number 2, when will the land be released to the Ministry of Education for construction of the said school? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Next is the member for Oljororok, Honorable Mushira. I'm informed that the member had requested for this to be deferred, and I grant that request. So we'll go to the member for Lugari, Honorable Ayub Savula. Honorable Savula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 410 of 2019 to the Cabinet Secretary, Transport, Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. What is the status of the construction of Makongeni Estate in Nairobi County being developed at the Kenya Railway Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme land? 2, what measures are in place to ensure that the said project is implemented and completed on time? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport and Public Works and Housing. That marks the end of question time, so therefore we will... Let's hear what Honorable Sossion has to say.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order number 43, I rise to seek your leave to raise a matter regarding state of school infrastructure, both in public and private schools in this country. Mr. Speaker, in light of the unfortunate tragedy at the Precious Talent School in Nairobi City County, where 8 innocent lives were lost due to a collapse of classroom, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, this serves as an indicator of widespread non-compliance to minimum set national standards for school infrastructure by both public and private schools in the country. The lives of learners and other users of such facilities are at risk, particularly with regard to thousands of private schools operating illegally in this country, either with the protection of the Ministry of Education or without necessary approval. Mr. Speaker, the legal framework sets out the guidelines for registering schools, both public and private. However, a number of private schools, and in fact many of them, operate without registration and without approval, meaning the infrastructure and other facilities such as classrooms and boarding facilities are not established based on the set standards according to the law, and therefore are not inspected and are not certified by the State Departments of Public Works, Health and Education. The Ministry of Education is allowing such schools to operate without approval, putting the lives of our children at risk, despite the law being in place. Mr. Speaker, this is a brisk business frontier that operates and has escaped the Ministry of Education and government in general. The primary objective of the government is to ensure quality, safe learning environment that meets the international standards as well as the 21st century standards, whether the school is public or private. The Ministry of Education, therefore, should ensure that, 1, all learning institutions are registered and facilities are inspected and certified afresh by the Department of Public Works, Department of Health, and Department of Education. 2, that the minimum set standards according to the law for all infrastructure facilities in both public and private schools, as set out in the legal framework, are enforced. Mr. Speaker, it is therefore from this background that I seek your leave to raise the matter in this House during the 0 hour. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. I've scrutinized what Honorable Sossion is requesting, and I feel it meets all the required all the requirements. It's a matter of topical concern. He has also asked not later than 3, so he qualifies. And therefore, the 0 hour will be at 6:30 or any other such time as the business of the House will have been completed. So, Honorable Sossion, you should be ready just in case the business is finished earlier, then therefore you might be lucky to have a little more time. But otherwise, if the House will run all the way to 6:30, at 6:30 we'll have the 0 hour. Thank you. The next is it Honorable Danga, what is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising because I'm concerned about the time it is taking to respond to questions asked by members. Mr. Speaker, I did ask a question to the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Cooperatives, and I have been invited more than 4 times to that committee. And each time I'm invited, Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Secretary has not been able to turn up. In fact, the last time I was invited, I was at home, and I joked that I hope that the Cabinet Secretary does not come again. And indeed, he did not come again. Mr. Speaker, when we ask questions, we are asking on behalf of the people of Kenya. And the people of Kenya need responses as soon as practically possible. Mr. Speaker, in the circumstances, can you guide the House? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maybe because you also joked at home before you came. But let's see, where is the chair of the Departmental Committee on Trade? Because it would be important for us to hear the version of the committee. What are the reasons for, and if we don't find that, we probably will give the leader of majority because he's the overall, I don't even see the vice chair. Okay, let's have the leader of majority.
Chair, I think the chairman is out on official duties, but we have no information. Both the chairs and the members have not officially either complained to the clerk's office or to my office or the speaker's office on non-attendance of ministers. And I'm sure if such cases are there, chairs will tell us. But similarly, there are times where the minister comes and the members are not there. So I think all of us together is that when a question on Thursday is read and time is given, like on Thursday this week, a number of questions will be answered before 3 committees. So we really want to ask members, please be there. And if the minister does not come, please make us know that position so that we can take up with the minister. But I think on the trade matter, I'll liaise with the chair and then report to the liaison committee tomorrow.
That will be in order. Otherwise, if I find it that it is not moving the direction that we would want, we probably would invoke
Works and Housing to hold a meeting with the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development on Thursday, 8th August 2019 at 10 a.m. so as to obtain his submissions on the matter. Honorable Speaker, during the sitting of the House on Thursday, it was on this premise, Honorable Speaker, that I seek your indulgence in directing the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport.
I hear you, Honorable Nasir, and I noticed that when the chair made a response in the House, he gave a report on behalf of what, actually he reported on what they had agreed with KRA and the Minister of Transport. So basically, I'm looking at it in terms of the fact that it wasn't his statement. He was merely relaying facts. Now, the best way forward, as far as I'm concerned in this particular one, is for us to have the committee give us the factual position. Because I remember the chair also reporting, and which was a factual position, that it had been placed before the daily newspapers, that it had been suspended. So probably what we need to do is to have them confirm the facts, whether it is truly suspended or it is not. And that one, I think, should be done on Thursday. What is it, Leader of Majority?
Speaker, the minister appeared before the committee as you directed, and he has said it unanswered, he has suspended it. So what else is a member looking for? No, Mr. Speaker, member from Vita is acting on rumors. You directed the minister to be there on 8th of August. He came before the committee. It was communicated even to the media, 411. The minister has been suspended. And the chair is in Canada, but that matter has been suspended. You know, Mr. Speaker, yesterday the member was leading a demonstration in Mombasa, and he must tell the people of Mombasa that that matter of curtailing transportation of cargo from Mombasa to Nairobi or any other part of the country by road has been suspended. After, even if we, Honorable Nasir, you know you are a second timer. As long as I have the floor, you relax. You'll have your time. So, even if we bring the minister 10 times here, he will give the same answer. So, you know, in Mombasa and even in my constituency, kuna ile mahali where it's called Gumzo Mtaani. The matter he's bringing here is Gumzo Mtaani. But the Minister for Transport, C.S. Macharia, has confirmed that he has suspended it. It's on Hansard. It is everywhere. C.S. Macharia. Yes, so unless we called somebody else, yes, Machare will give the same answer, Mr. Speaker.
Let's hear Honorable Nasir. Before I hear you, Honorable Nasir, let's see what Honorable Wanyonyi has to say on this. Then I can give you, but remember the order that I've made is that the committee, not the CS. I'm not asking the CS to come. We are saying the committee should give us a factual position. As far as we are concerned, it was reported on Hansard that the matter had been resolved. So what we expect of the committee is to come and give the factual position, just confirming really that the matter was suspended. Because I'm told they actually even put it on the dailies. So let's hear Honorable Wanyonyi before I give Honorable Nasir.
Mr. Speaker, I think what Honorable Nasir is raising, of course I hear what the leader of the majority is saying, but this is something of great importance to this country, Mr. Speaker, given what we are seeing in Mombasa. Mr. Speaker, we can't just wash it away. What we are seeing in Mombasa is very critical for this country. Laying off thousands and thousands of, actually we give this petition time to be explained, and if possible, it be explained in the Kamukunji, because I've seen that, and I think as a Kenyan, I'm very sorry about it. It's something that we cannot wash away. Whether the speaker, whether the minister can come here or go meet the committee and say it's been suspended, he is wrong. He's in a comfort zone, and I think, Mr. Speaker, give this committee time to look at what is happening in Mombasa, because Kenyans are suffering. There are no jobs. And therefore, I want to agree with the Honorable Nasir, whether the minister came and said what he said, and I quite agree with the Mheshimiwa Duale, but please look at the fate of the Kenyans in this country. They are suffering.
Honorable Kirima Ngushine, member for Central Imenti.
Mr. Speaker, I associate myself with the member for Mvita. Even though it is said, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport and Infrastructure came to this house. If one take a chance to travel along that road from Nairobi to Mombasa, as I did last August, you sympathize with the situation, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honestly, it's not like the way we used to drive taking care because of the number of roads are transacting on that road. The road is virtually empty. This SGR is killing business in Kenya instead of creating business. And whoever came with the idea and did not call out the visibility study to know that we are going to kill many entrepreneurs. The number of markets which used to exist, the thriving business which used to exist along Nairobi-Mombasa Road.
But Honorable Member...
I mean, Mr.
Just a minute, Honorable Member for Imenti Central. You see, the issue which is before the House is not whether the lorries are not on the road. It is whether people are being forcefully asked to use the SGR. If it is a question of competition, and SGR is competing better than the other one, it's a different thing. So I want us to look at the issue in, as Honorable Nasir has asked, not the issue of competition, but as to whether it is voluntary. You go to SGR on a voluntary basis. If it is voluntary and members of public are opting for SGR, it's a different thing altogether. So let's look at that in that manner.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. That's a position, but what I'm saying is that it's not voluntary as it was supposed to be, because you can see still members of the public who used to use transport are still transporting through SGR, and it's more expensive. They are being forced. The minister said that he is going to give a directive to stop the enforcement, forcing. But that statement he gave was just by the way. It is not effective. And maybe he did not direct his people to start implementing what he was telling the committee here. So members are still being forced. And as for that, you can see it by action. By action is that when you are transporting these goods by the road, they are more cheaper than when you are transporting through SGR. And still they are transporting through expensive method. And that's why I'm saying that the roads are empty. In this way of being the cheaper way of transport. And even people have been landed jobless in Mombasa. We should consider that. So I associate myself with my friend from Vita.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker.
Let me give 2 more members, and then we will close it down. Honorable Junet, and then I'll give 1 member from this side, and Honorable Nasir will be the last one.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to support the petition. Mr. Speaker,
What did you say
the
again?
statement. Mr. Speaker, I am very, very unhappy because the SGR has not reached Kisumu. If it had reached Kisumu, I would have supported it. But Mr. Speaker, we must accept as a country that SGR is something that has happened. It has come. So people must look for ways and means to diversify the way they were doing things. If you expect that the SGR will not be there, then you are living in the old days, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many people have lost jobs because of even...
We consider the statement by Honorable Nasir, Honorable Speaker. I think it's important as a House that we be alive to the fact that it is this House in the 11th Parliament that appropriated very huge resources towards the construction of the SGR railway line. Besides appropriating money, Honorable Speaker, for construction and now to repay the loan, we must also be alive to the fact that all the resources that are needed to repay the loan from China Exim Bank, Honorable Speaker, must and need to be generated from SGR. And it is okay, Honorable Speaker, to argue for the transporters. But we must also consider the flip side of it, Honorable Speaker, on the damage to our road network by transporters, Honorable Speaker. And we must have a balance of the two things. And Honorable Speaker, the question is on whether people are being forced to use SGR and not use our roads, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, it's also important for the leadership, and I want to support what Honorable Juneta said, for the leadership in the Coast Province to come out clean and declare their interests in this matter. And I would understand when somebody from Meru speaks about it, where there is no SGR. At least in Kikuyu there is SGR that is passing through Kikuyu from Nairobi to Naivasha. And we are beneficiaries of this SGR in terms of how much it has transformed Nachu Ward in Kikuyu constituency and how much more transformation we are looking into as we construct a linkage between the road, the main road, to where the SGR station is, Honorable Speaker. But I was saying the leadership in Mombasa must also declare their interests. And those who are benefiting from the SGR, Honorable Speaker, those who in yesteryears, only 3 years ago, were in the front line of fighting SGR, but today are in the front line of advocating and supporting SGR because they are supporting personally, Honorable Speaker, those interests. And I'm not looking at Honorable Nasir. I know he wants to be governor of Mombasa. But the others, Honorable Speaker, in Mombasa, and I don't want to name them because they cannot be able to defend themselves here. Yes. But probably it is those that Honorable Nasir seeks to succeed as governor in Mombasa, Honorable Speaker, they must also declare their interest and be honest to the people of Mombasa. Yes. You cannot feed on the blood of your own people, Honorable Speaker, and expect that you will get away with it, Honorable Speaker. We must be honest as leaders today, even as we speak or purport to speak on behalf of our people. We must be very honest with our people. The leadership, and Honorable Nasir, you must be bold enough to tell your governor that he must be sincere and open to the people of Mombasa. If there is anybody killing the economy in Mombasa, it is your own governor, not the government of Kenya. And we must be honest, Honorable Speaker, because we cannot continue pretending, Honorable Speaker, that we are speaking on behalf of the people while we are
being sought after by the member for Mvita. Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge
the only way I can, shouting from where you sit, point of order, is not going to be useful. I am looking at those members who have pressed intervention slots. And some of the members who are shouting loudest, I cannot be able to see them here. Because there are 13 members. There are 13 members who have pressed that, and I can only be able to see 6 from my gadget. So allow the member for Honorable Musimba to have a say. We will give one more member, and that will be it. And then we'll go to the next order. Okay, Honorable Musimba, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, in seeking that statement, I just wanted to seek further clarification that when the national roads are a national infrastructure, we've had the trucking business. And now that we have the SGR, people like a lot of towns are going to be affected along the way, including some in my constituency. And what we seek to know is that, is there a policy for us to invest in bogies which we can place along the SGR to be able to supplement further incomes, which will be able to accrue towards the same people who've been invested in the trucking business upstream. So in seeking the statement, I would want that further clarification as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll have Honorable Nasir. What is it that you are, what is your issue, Honorable Nasir? You are the one who is the originator of the statement.
Mr. Speaker, I request you, and with your respect, the Leader of Majority and the Chair of Budget. You know, the Chair of Budget, Mr. Speaker, and I don't want you to give a ruling on this. The Chair of Budget talked, and he tried very, very hard to refrain himself from calling names. Eventually, his tongue slipped, and eventually he mentioned my governor. And Mr. Speaker, I want you to declare a ruling to declare that he is totally out of order, and it is not based on the tradition of this House to mention someone who cannot be able to defend themselves, someone who has already come out in the open to talk about this matter. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member has asked me whether I have any interest to declare. My interest is not even for the people of Mombasa alone. My interest is for every single township that is from Mombasa until where the SGR finishes. All those cities are dying, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't speak for myself alone. I speak for the member as well, for Garissa Town, Honorable Duale. It is easier for a truck to be able to come out and carry milk from Garissa to go to Mombasa and other parts than it is for relying on the SGR. I speak on behalf of the same member of Kikuyu. It is easier for us to be able to carry potatoes and eggs from Kikuyu constituency to other parts using the truck system and not the SGR. But Mr. Speaker, what the basis of this particular statement, Mr. Speaker, and I want to agree with Honorable Duale, that in the very House where I requested and you ordered that the CS for transport to come, he came and he is on record as having said that yes, it has been withdrawn, but we need to be oblivious of what is on the ground. The places that the honorable member is talking about, I use as Gumzo Mtaani, Mr. Speaker, are the same places that people are crying and crying out loud. The basis on the ground is that we seem to be discussing issues, and when a CS in front of the whole House, the sanctity of this very, very House you know, we are all being abused, Mr. Speaker. When a CS comes and misleads this very House through a committee or directly, and a chair of a committee can come here and say that it has already been declared illegal and it has been lifted. And when something like that has not been done on the ground, it is not us alone, the people of Mombasa, that are being abused. Okay. It is this very, very House, Mr. Speaker. Okay. And that is why we are asking. The statement, Mr. Speaker, is very clear. Now, declare that the chair of transport or his representative by Thursday to come up with a written document and say that that is the situation on the ground, is what it should be. And if there's someone who is misleading the CS, let that someone face the full wrath of law, Mr. Speaker.
Now, honorable members, let us not be, this is something which is fairly straightforward. I have said the thing that we will request or we will ask of the Transport Committee is to confirm facts, because the statement was not theirs. They met the CS, and the CS also confirmed, including putting on paper our dailies, that the matter had been suspended. Now, what we expect of the committee is just to confirm that that's the factual position or authority on transport to have a meeting on Thursday and deliberate this particular one and give us the factual position. Thank you very much. So we go to the next order.
Order number 8, the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 51 of 2019, second reading, question to be put.
Honorable members, this matter had been canvassed and finalized. So what remained was for the question to be put, and I confirm that we have the required numbers, and therefore, order members, order members, order. Member for Kiambu. So I put the question, which is that the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 51 of 2019, be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the law relating to various taxes and duties and for matters incidental thereto. Order number 9, motion, report on the committee of the whole house on its consideration of the president's reservation to the parliamentary service bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2018, question to be put.
Again, this one had been canvassed, and what remained was the question to be put, and I confirm that 2018. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, report of the committee of the whole house on its consideration of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment number 3 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019, question to be put and third reading.
Order, members. Again, I put the question, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the whole House on its consideration of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment number 3 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Now we will allow the members to be counted. Members, order members. Order members, order members. Order members, order members. There are 28 of you, but allow a confirmation. Allow a confirmation, and then we see, because honorable members, there are 31 of you, and therefore I order division. So the division bell should be rung for 10 minutes, then you make your decision. And as we do this, the members are not allowed to leave.
bunge kuidhinisha kubadilishwa kwa mipaka ya msitu wa mlima Elgon ili usijumuishe awamu za kwanza na pili za eneo la Chepiok ambazo zinajumuisha ekari 4,607 na kuhifadhi eneo lililosalia la msitu huo, hasa eneo la Chepkitale, kuambatana na pendekezo la Umoja wa Mataifa la kuafikia utandi wa msitu wa 10% hapa nchini. Nao mswada kuhusu elimu ya chekechea unatarajiwa kusomwa kwa mara ya pili. Katiba imezijukumu serikali za magatuzi kusimamia elimu ya shule za chekechea, na pia mswada huu unazingatia haki ya kimsingi ya watoto ya kupokea elimu. Jina langu msikilizaji ni Tilio Ismail Marco, na ninakuletea matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja kupitia kitengo cha matangazo ya bunge PBU ambacho kinashirikiana na shirika la utangazaji nchini KBC kukuletea matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja ya bunge kutoka eneo la katikati ya jiji la Nairobi, ikiwa hivi sasa ni saa 9:17. Kumbuka pia matangazo haya unapata moja kwa moja kupitia runinga yetu ya KBC Channel 1. Na msikilizaji, itakapo timu saa 10 jinsi nilivyokujuza ni kwamba tutakupeleka katika bunge la Senate. Kikao cha sasa cha bunge la taifa kinaongozwa na naibu spika wa bunge la taifa Moses Cheboi, na sasa wabunge wanapiga kura ya kuidhinisha hoja ya ripoti ya kamati ya bunge lote iliyochunguza taarifa ya rais. Inapitisha hoja ya kamati ya bunge lote iliyochunguza mswada nambari 35 wa mwaka huu wa kurekebisha sheria kuhusu tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka. Ndio shughuli inayoendelea kwa sasa katika bunge la taifa. Wabunge wanaendelea kupiga kura ya kuidhinisha hoja hiyo. Na kwenye ratiba ya leo jinsi nilivyokujuza ni kwamba kuna mswada kuhusu utaratibu wa uzalishaji wa mapato katika kaunti, na unatarajiwa kusomwa kwa mara ya pili. Ni mswada ambao unaratibu jinsi serikali ya taifa inavyoweza kutekeleza jukumu lake la kutathmini sera za ukusanyaji ushuru na jinsi serikali za kaunti zinavyoweza kutekeleza mamlaka ya ukusanyaji ushuru. Mswada huu uliwasilishwa na kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge la taifa. Vilevile kuna hoja ya ripoti ya ujumbe uliozuru Saudi Arabia kutathmini maslahi ya wafanyakazi wahamiaji raia wa Kenya wanaohudumu nchini humo. Na kuna mswada kutoka bunge la Senate kuhusu utaratibu wa kuwasilisha rufaa katika mabunge ya kaunti. Msikilizaji na mtazamaji, endelea kusikiliza na kutazama KBC Radio Taifa na runinga ya KBC Channel 1 mtawalia, ikiwa hivi sasa ni saa 9:19. Kumbuka msikilizaji, tunakuletea matangazo haya hadi mahali popote ulipo, ukiwa kazini, ukiwa nyumbani, au msikilizaji ukiwa safarini. KBC Radio Taifa na KBC runinga ya Channel 1 tunawajibika kuhakikisha kwamba haya yote unayapata kwa njia safi kabisa. Kwa sasa kikao cha bunge la taifa kinaongozwa na naibu spika Moses Cheboi. Kumbuka pia Moses Cheboi ni mbunge wa Kuresoi Kaskazini, na shughuli inaendelea kwa sasa katika bunge la taifa ni kwamba wabunge wanapiga kura ya kupitisha hoja ya ripoti ya kamati ya bunge lote ambayo ilichunguza mswada nambari 35 wa mwaka huu wa kurekebisha sheria kuhusu tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka. Endelea kusikiliza KBC Radio Taifa. Kumbuka majukumu ya bunge la taifa ni pamoja na utunzi wa sheria ambao unaendelea kwa sasa, utathmini wa utendakazi wa serikali, na vilevile msikilizaji, uwakilishi wa maeneo bunge mbalimbali hapa nchini. Na bunge la taifa lina jumla ya wabunge 349 ambao wanajumuisha wabunge waliochaguliwa na wabunge walioteuliwa kuwakilisha makundi mbalimbali. Matangazo haya msikilizaji, tunakuletea kwa ushirikiano na mwenzangu Samuel Musita ambaye yuko hapa, na kumbuka ni matangazo ambayo yanafanikishwa kwa ushirikiano kati ya kitengo cha matangazo ya bunge PBU na shirika la utangazaji la KBC. Na msikilizaji, kumbuka tutakuletea matangazo haya hadi mwendo wa saa 10 tutakapokupeleka katika bunge la Senate hadi mwendo wa saa 11:30, ambapo basi tutakupa fursa ya kuendelea kushughulikia au kufurahia matangazo yetu yaliyosalia. Kumbuka jinsi nilivyokujuza ni kwamba unapata pia matangazo haya kwenye runinga yetu ya KBC Channel 1 na KBC Radio Taifa. Ni saa 9:21. Shukran sana msikilizaji kwa kuendelea kusikiliza KBC Radio Taifa, tukikuletea au tukikuwezesha kumtathmini mbunge wako kwa njia ya moja kwa moja, uweze kufahamu jinsi anavyokuwakilisha na jinsi anavyotekeleza kazi uliompa kuja kutekeleza katika bunge la taifa, ili itakapotimu wakati wa uchaguzi itakapofika mwaka 2022, basi utaweza kufanya uamuzi wa busara ukifahamu jinsi ambavyo anafanya kazi ambayo msikilizaji ulimtuma aje kufanya katika bunge la taifa. Kumbuka wabunge wangali wakishughulika kupiga kura ya kuidhinisha au kupitisha hoja ya ripoti ya kamati ya bunge lote iliyochunguza mswada nambari 35 wa mwaka huu wa kurekebisha sheria kuhusu tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka. Bunge pia limepitisha tayari hoja ya ripoti ya kamati ya bunge lote iliyochunguza taarifa ya rais kuhusu sababu zake za kutotia saini mswada kuhusu tume ya huduma za bunge. Hali kadhalika bunge limepitisha mswada kuhusu sekta ya fedha, na ni mswada ambao unakusudia kutekeleza mapendekezo yaliyowasilishwa na waziri wa fedha kwenye bajeti ya kipindi cha mwaka 2019-2020 kuhusiana na ulipaji madeni na ukusanyaji ushuru. Na vile kuna hoja ya kiutaratibu ambayo inadhamiria kuongeza kwa siku 30 muda wa kushughulikia rufaa kuhusu mizozo baina ya binadamu na wanyamapori katika eneo bunge la Kibwezi Mashariki. Rufaa hii ilichunguzwa na kamati ya mazingira na mali asili. Pia kwenye ratiba ya leo kuna hoja kuhusu taarifa ya maongozi ya serikali nambari 1 ya mwaka huu iliyorekebishwa kuhusu sera ya kurekebisha na kutoa mafunzo katika sekta ya elimu. Kadhalika kuna hoja ambapo serikali inalitaka bunge kuidhinisha kubadilishwa kwa mipaka ya msitu wa mlima Elgon ili usijumuishe awamu za kwanza na pili za eneo la Chepiuk ambazo zinajumuisha ekari 4,607 na kuhifadhi eneo lililosalia la msitu huo, hasa eneo la Chepkitale, kuambatana na pendekezo la Umoja wa Mataifa la kuafikia utando wa msitu wa 10% hapa nchini. Nao mswada kuhusu elimu ya chekechea unatarajiwa kusomwa kwa mara ya pili. Katiba imezijukumu serikali za magatuzi kusimamia elimu ya shule za chekechea, na pia mswada huu unazingatia haki ya kimsingi ya watoto ya kupokea elimu. Mswada mwingine kwenye ratiba ya leo ni kuhusu utaratibu wa uzalishaji wa mapato katika kaunti, na unatarajiwa kusomwa kwa mara ya pili.
A very good afternoon to you. If you were just tuning in, these are live pictures from the National Assembly chambers where the members are preparing to go to the division. They will be voting on the Independent Election Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill number 3 of 2019. The principal object of this bill is...
Now I order the division bell to stop ringing, and the bars, the doors, and the bar be drawn. Order, members, take your seat, please. Draw the bars. And members, I can see a few members trying to log in. They shouldn't. Take your seats, please. Order, members, order. Member for Isiolo. Honorable Nyikal and team, please take your seats, please. We want to allow you to make your decision. And honorable members, it's not normal to introduce order members, order. Member for Shinyalu. There are a few members here who, member for Isiolo, member for Shinyalu, Honorable Nyikal there and his team, the new kid on the block, Honorable Chieng. Please take your seats. Take your seats. And this member of Shinyalu is not Honorable member for Shinyalu. Yeah, and Honorable Zambia there. Please take your seats. Take your seats. It's now time for you to make decisions. And there are some very lucky pupils and students from schools who will be witnessing the division in progress. And these are in the speaker's gallery, Matiku Secondary School from Kibwezi West of Makueni County, and ACK St. Mary Magdalene High School for the deaf from Bere North Constituency, Embu County. And in the public gallery, we have Harambe Primary School from Makadara constituency of Nairobi County. And I'm deliberately introducing them at this point in time because I know they are a very lucky group of students who will be witnessing division in progress. So the bars have been drawn. So members, log out. Please, log out. I see 5 members. Yeah, Honorable Injendi, log out, and Honorable Sotsi, please. Those who don't have cards will come to the front, but they must remain at that particular position here in front until business of voting is finalized. So that I'm not doubting the members that they are going to be honest in their voting, but it is the best way to do it. The members who do not have cards will come in front here, and they will record their vote here and remain here until the matter is closed. Kindly log in. Yes, log in. Maybe just for good order, there are 4 members here who have, hold on a bit, honorable members. Let's log out again. There are 5 members who have logged in. Honorable Zambia, Honorable Zambia, log out. Log out, Honorable Thuku Kwenya. Yes. Then we will all log in now. Let's log in. Yes, you can log in now, honorable members. And those members who do not have cards, come in front. Okay. We have some seconds to go before you see what is happening. I'm sure the members have logged in now. You will be voting shortly and making your decision. Okay, start voting. Start voting now, and you take the names of the members who are here, and they should wait.
National Assembly are voting on the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill number 3,
There
Bill
will be
National
no more
Assembly,
members coming in
Bill
front
number
here.
35
The
of 2019.
No.
That this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission Amendment number 3, Bill National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019. This is for the third reading. The principal object of this bill is to amend the first schedule to the Independent Election Boundaries Commission Act number 9 of 2011 in order to establish a selection panel
You continue voting.
to oversee the
There will be
filling
no members
of
coming in
vacant
front
positions
and
in the Independent Election Boundaries Commission. The first schedule only applied to the recruitment of the current commissioners, and there is therefore need to provide for a selection panel to consider subsequent appointments. Of course, this is according
Those who
to
have-
the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice
who
and
have-
Legal Affairs. Under the bill, it is proposed that the selection panel comprises of 4 persons nominated by the Parliamentary Service Commission and 7 other persons nominated by the Public Service Commission, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Law Society of Kenya, the National Gender and Equality Commission, the Attorney General, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and the Interreligious Council of Kenya. According to the bill, it is expected that the 11-member selection panel is representative of a cross-section of the Kenyan society and its values, and that it will ably discharge its core mandate of shortlisting suitable persons for appointment as commissioners by the President. The bill had already gone through the first reading. It had gone also through debate for the second reading, as well as the Committee of the Whole House, which some proposed amendments had been debated by the members of the National Assembly. And today the House, the Committee of the Whole House did report, and the members are having the opportunity to have their vote count or their voices heard. So in a short while, we will be getting the results from the presiding speaker, who is also the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Chiboy. This division was occasioned by the decision by some members to stand and be counted, and of course, for that particular division to come into effect, then at least 30 members should be upstanding when the question has been put. Earlier, the Deputy Speaker put the question and the ayes had it, and so the members of the National Assembly who were opposed to that particular vote did rise, and the number was able to force a division which is currently taking place. What is happening is that the members with their cards have already slotted them in and placed their vote, and those without their cards have also had the opportunity to indicate which side they'll be voting for. Will it be on the positive side or the negative side, or will they be abstaining from this particular vote? It is on the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill number 3, Bill National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019, courtesy of the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. The bill seeks to amend various sections, among them the first schedule to the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission Act number 9 of 2011 in order to establish a selection panel to oversee the filling of vacant positions in the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission. According to the Chairperson, the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, the current first schedule only applied to the recruitment of the current commissioners, and therefore there is need to provide for a selection panel to consider subsequent appointments. So this bill it proposes that the selection panel comprises of 4 persons nominated by the Parliamentary Service
Order,
Commission.
members, for avoidance of doubt. Okay? For avoidance of any doubt. It is reported that the system is not working well. It has worked, but it's not working well. So for avoidance of doubt, the nays should appoint one teller who will come and sit in front here, and the ayes will also appoint one teller, and we'll vote manually. Okay? Now then, that, yeah. So, do I get the impression? Do I get the impression that Honorable Dr. Pukose has been appointed by the ayes? A surgeon they have. And Honorable Nyikal, another gynecologist they have. So we will have 2. So we will have Honorable Dr. Pukose and Honorable Dr. Nyikal. Okay? Now, it's really up to the, I do not know who is voting nay and aye. Honorable Dr. Nyikal, Honorable Nyikal, take your seat and allow Honorable Nasir to represent the nays. So we'll vote manually, honorable members, we'll vote manually. Manually. For avoidance of any doubt. So now this will be one of the most transparent votes in the House. The clerk will call out names and the member will declare which side they are voting. And we will start. Start with the... What were you voting before? It is exactly what you are voting. So we will start.
Abdi Yusuf Hassan.
Abdi Hassan.
Abrai Major Retired Bashir.
Major Bashir.
Abor Paul. Abor Paul.
I can see members again say they want some secret ballot. No, this is manual voting. There will be nothing secret. Please, quickly. Okay, maybe to save time.
Yeah. I vote nay.
No. Why don't we do it differently? Why don't we do it differently? So we've already recorded Honorable Abur.
Mr. Speaker,
and
I
there
vote
is no
no.
information I require.
Nay.
And honorable members, you know the standing orders are very clear. When there is fault, we do roll call voting. And this is exactly what we are doing. I see members again are being jittery about it. I'm sure members have made the decision on what they want to vote. So let's proceed. Next.
Adagala Beatrice Kahai.
Adagala. Honorable Adagala, proceed.
Adan Safia Sheikh.
Adan Safia.
They are at the back there.
She can come here.
Please come quickly. Or
Adan Safia Sheikh.
Yes.
aye. That's an aye. Proceed.
Yes.
Next.
Ahmed Shakir Ahmed Shabir.
He would have said absent.
Next.
Miruka Ondieki.
Absent.
Next.
Ali Adan Haji.
Next.
Ali Amin Dedi.
Absent.
Ali Fatuma Gedi.
Order, members, we are voting now.
Ali Sharif Adman.
Absent.
Aluoch John Olago. Angatia Ayub Savola.
Absent.
By the way, all mics are now activated, so just press it and you'll be fine.
Angwenyi Jimmy Nuru Ondieki.
Yes. Yes.
Arama Samuel.
Next.
Aramat Lemanken.
Next.
Arati Paul Simba.
Next.
Marcelino Malimo.
Arbele, next.
Atandi Samuel Onunga.
No.
Next.
Babu Oino Paul Ongili. Badibadi Twalip. Baya Owen Ya.
Absent.
Bore Florence CK.
Press your mic.
Yes.
Bowen David Kangogo.
Absent.
Bunyasi Sakwa John.
Absent.
Buyu Rosa Akinyi.
Absent.
Jebaibai Jane Jebkoril Kipto. Cheboy Moses Kipkemboi.
I am not going to vote. I'm only going to vote if there is going to be a tie. Proceed.
Chege Maito Sabina Wanjiru. Chepkoech Joyce Korir. William Cameron. Chepkut William Cameron. Chepkwoni Charity Kadhambi. Cheruyot Gladwell Jesire.
Absent.
Chesebe Fred Kapondi.
Absent.
Chumel Samuel Moroto. Dawood Abdul Rahim. Dawood Abdul Rahim. Duale Aden Bare.
He's on phone. He's on phone. Yes. Be on record, please. Did you say no? Moroto was no. Did Duale say no? Did you say no? Said yes.
That
Be
one
on
is
record, on record.
that one is a yes. Proceed.
Duale Mohamed Dahir. Ekomwa James Lomenen.
Absent.
Emanikor Joyce Akai. Gal Ahmed Bashane. Gachagua Rigathi. Gachobe Samuel Kinuthia.
Yes.
That's a yes. Proceed.
Gakuya James Mwangi.
Yes.
That's another yes. Proceed.
Gakuya Mase Wanjiko. Ganya Francis Chachu.
Yes.
Garane Mohammed Hire.
That's a no.
Gati Denita.
Next.
Gikaria David.
Next.
Gimose Charles Gumini.
Next.
Gitao Faith Wairimu. Yes.
That's yes.
Githinji Robert Gichimu. GK George Macharia Karaoke.
That's yes.
Gogo Lilian Achieng. Gure Anab Mohammed. Guyo Ali Wario. Hassan Aminda Gedo. Hassan Kulo Maalim. Hassan Omar Mohammed Maalim. Hassan Rehema. Yes. Hassan Zuleikha Juma. Hiribae Said Buya. Hulufo Hassan Oda. Ibrahim Abdi Mude. Ibrahim Ahmed Abdisalan. Ibrahim Nasri Sahal. Ichungwa Anthony Kimani.
No.
Ijendi Moses.
Honorable, the members who are taking, the two members, please, let's be serious with our work. When yeah, there are two members here, so you really need to be very careful. No confusion at all.
Ijendi Moses Malulu.
Yes.
Iringo Cyprian Kubai.
Yes.
Jaldesa Rehema Dida. Jango Patrick Kimani Wainaina. Commander Maina.
Absent.
Order members, order members, order members. That member is absent, so proceed.
Kamene Joyce.
Absent. Oh, she's there.
She has
Kamene
voted-
Joyce.
She has voted no.
No. Kamket Kasait William.
No, he's there. Remember.
No.
Cameron Charles. Cameron Charles. Kanchori Elijah Memusi. Kandie Joshua Chipiegon. Kanyi Charles Njagua. Kasalu Irene Mudhoni. Katana Aisha Jumwa Karisa. Katana Paul Kahindi. Kaunya Edward Oku.
No.
Kega Madenge James Kanini. Keter Alfred Kipto. Keter Gideon. Keinan Welihe Adan. Kiai Anthony Gidiaka.
Yes.
Kiaraho David Njuguna. Kibe Ani Wanjiku. Kibunguchi Enoch Wamalwa. Kigano Clement Muturi. Kihara Jane Njeri Wanjiru. Kihara Peter Kimari. Kilonzo Charles Mutavi. Kimani Francis Kuria. Kimilu Joshua Kivinda. Kimunya Amos Muhinga. Maoka Richard Maore. Maoka Richard Maore. Mariro Patrick Karaoke. Maritim Silvanus. Masadia Alfred Agoy. Masara Peter Francis.
No.
Mawade Julius Musili. Mbai Nimrod Mbiduka. Mbalu Jessica Nduku Kiko. Mbarile Cecily. Mbiuki Josephat Miriti Kareke. Bogo Alimenza. Mboko Mishi Juma Hamisi. Hussein.
No.
Mohammed Ali. Mohammed Lokiru Ali. Mohammed Mohamud Sheikh. Moi Kipruto. Momanyi Ben George Oriri. Momanyi Jerusha. Mukwe James Lusweti. Mule Stephen Mutinda. Muliungi Gideon Mutemi. Mumo Rose Museo. Munyaka Victor Kioko. Murgo James Kipkosgei.
Yes.
Murugara George Gitonga. Murungi Kadhuri. Musao Vincent Musioka.
Vote loudly.
It's a yes.
Musimba Patrick Mweu. Mutai Japheth Kiplangat. Mudama Stanley Muiruri. Mutua Didmas Wekesa Barasa.
Yes.
Mutua Florence Mwikali. Mutunga John Kanyuidhia. Muturi Joyfrey Kingangi. Mwandime Andrew. Mwakuona Danson Mwashako. Mwale Nicholas Scott Tindi. Mwalio Joshua Mbidhi.
No.
Mwambire Teddy Gumbao. Mwamkale William Kamoti, Mwangaza Kawira, Mwangi Benjamin Gadhiru.
Yes.
Mwangi James Gichuhi, Mwangi Jonah Mburu, Mwaniki Ruth, Mwanyanje Gertrude Mbeyu, Mwashetani Khatib Abdalla, Mwadhi Peter Mungai, Mwirigi John Paul.
Yes.
Naika Johnson Manya, Nakara John Rodepe, Nakuleu Christopher Doye, Nanok Daniel Epuyo, Nasir Abdulsamad Sharif.
No.
Ndirango Isaac Waihenya, Girichi Purity Wangoi, Ngongo Mbadi John,
Absent.
Ngugi Joseph Nduati, Nguna Charles Ngusia, Jagagua Charles Morioki, Njiru Eric Muchangi, Gonjiri Onesmus Kimani, Njiru Jane Wanjuki, Jomo Jude L. Kangede,
Yes.
Njoroge Mary Wamaua Waidhira, Nur Sophia Abdi, Ntwiga Patrick Munene, Nuh Junet Sheikh,
He has said yes.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Now,
Mr. Speaker.
Order.
I said it no.
Order.
Mr. Speaker.
You have voted both yes and no, so it is a spoiled vote. Proceed.
Nyaga Beatrice Nkadha,
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr.
Nyaga Beatrice
Point of
Nkadha,
order.
Yes.
Okay, since you demand that you want to see Hansard will be availed. But you have voted, you have actually voted yes and no. one will be ruled on later. Proceed. Proceed. No points of order. We are
Nyaga
voting.
John Muchiri.
Point of order.
Nyaga John Muchiri.
Point of order.
Nyaga.
Vote one way or the other. So we are
point
going
of
to
order.
wait for the Hansard, and then we'll decide whether to give you an opportunity to vote or not. Now you have asked for that,
Point of order.
and you have been given.
Point
so
of-
what else do you want? So let's
A point
proceed.
of
There are no
information.
points of order for now. We are voting. We will revisit. Hold on. We will revisit. We will revisit. Proceed. We will revisit that. Don't you worry, Honorable Junet.
Nyamita Mark Ogola.
Honorable
Nyamita
Junet,
Mark,
don't you worry, that will be revisited. Let's proceed.
Nyamita Mark Ogola.
Absent.
Nyamoko Joash Nyamache.
Absent.
Nyenze Edith Vedi.
She's there.
She's vote no.
Nikal James Wambura.
Honorable Nyikal.
No. Nyoro Samson Dindi. Nzambia Deus Kidhua.
No.
Nzengu Paul Musimi.
Absent.
Nzioka Erastus Kivasu.
No.
Obara Eve Akinyi.
Absent.
Obiri Innocent Momanyi.
Absent.
Obo Rueda Mohammed. Yes. Ochieng David Ouma.
Yes.
Ochieng Pamela Awur. Odanga Joyfrey Makoha.
Absent.
Odege Tom Mboya.
Absent.
Odhiambo Elisha Ochieng.
No.
Odhiambo Millie Grace Akoth.
No.
Oduo Professor Jacqueline Adhiambo. Odor Christine Ombaka.
No.
Ogola Gideon Ochanda.
No.
Ogutu Zadok Abel.
Yes.
Okelo Jared Odoyo.
No, no, no. I thank you.
Okwome Andrew Adipo. Olekenta Richard Moitalel.
No.
Olelemein Dr. Korei.
Yes.
Olemetito Kato Judah.
Absent.
Ole Sankok David. Yes. Oluoch Anthony Tom.
Order members, order members. You know, members are known by their own names. That gentleman who has just stood cannot by any chance be a Kothe. That one is Honorable nominee 001. Eh?
Oluoch Anthony Tom.
No.
Ombaki Ezekiel Machogu. Omulele Christopher.
I vote no.
Owino John Walter. Owino Martin Peters.
I vote no.
Owor Joshua Aduma.
Absent.
Oyoka John Oro.
Absent.
Oyo James Onyango.
No.
Oyula Joseph H. Maero.
No.
Pasaris Esther Mudhoni Rosana.
Absent.
Poxing David Losikou. Pukose Dr. Robert.
Yes.
Ramadan Suleiman Dori. Raso Dido Ali.
Yes.
Rindikiri Mugambi Muruidhania. Robi Mathias Nyamabe. Rono Daniel Kipkosgei. Sambu Bernard Alfred Wekesa. Serem Coronelli. Serem Joshua Kutuni. Sironei Sami Kipkorir. Shaban Naomi Namsi. Shamala Jennifer. Shimbwa Omar Mwinyi. Shinali Bernard Masaka. Sholei Gladys Boss. Shurie Abdi Omar.
No.
Simiu David Eseli.
Press.
I vote no.
Sitati Daniel Wanyama.
Yes.
CTNA Janet Jeb Kemboi. Sosion Wilson.
I vote no.
Sudi Oscar Kipchumba. Sukuya George Risa. Wamuchomba Gadhoni. No. Wamunyinyi Adhanas Misiko Wafula. Wandai James Opio. Wanga Gladys Atieno Nyasuna. Wangaya Christopher Aseka. I vote no. Wangwe Emmanuel. Waruguru Catherine Wanjiku. Washiali Benjamin Jomo. Waweru John Kiarie. Were Charles Ongondo. Wetangula Timothy Wanyonyi.
No.
Yusuf Adan Haji.
Last but not the least, yes.
Is that counting? Are we done?
There are two things that we are going to do. First, honorable members, if there is any member who is in the House who has not been given an opportunity to vote, let me know. And secondly, having confirmed one or two things, the honorable minority whip, go and vote.
Nuh Junet Sheikh.
I vote no.
Now, I believe all members are satisfied. Now we will take the count. And then the decision will have been made by you. Any member who did not vote? I don't think so. Honorable members, please stay calm. The tallying will be very quick and the announcement will be made shortly, very shortly. Make sure your agents are very keen. I do not And there is one member who is not an agent, but is standing up in front here. That one is not allowed. Honorable member, please take your seat. This member who is in front here. Please take your seat. You are not an agent. You cannot help because we would require another person to help the other member. So please take your seat. Oh, please. Otherwise, your vote will be cancelled. Order, members, order. Order, members. Now, the two tellers, please move to the bar for you to announce the results. And the honorable members, Nyekal and the team, please take your seats because the announcement is being made. And I have no idea what the votes are thus far. I'm eager as yourself. All I'm going to do is to declare your verdict, loud and clear. So the lady from Suba, take your seat. It's past campaign time now. Honorable Millie, take your seat. The campaigns are over. What remains is the declaration of results. We will listen to the tellers in absolute silence. There. Well, you are announcing from the wrong place. You will announce from the front of the dispatch box, the front, not the side. So the microphone will be brought there.
Mr. Speaker, the total number of members who voted were 126. We had 1 who abstained. Those who voted for nays were 56, and for ayes were 69.
Order, members. Order, members. Order.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
The handshake is
Point
officially
of order,
finished.
Mr. Speaker.
It's dead.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Now, I will announce the results. The ayes, 69. The noes, 56. Abstention, 1. The ayes have it. Now I order the bars to be open. Draw the bars open. Let's proceed. Who is the mover? Where is Honorable Cheptumo? Please move reporting. Honorable Millie, you are being unruly, Honorable Millie. Honorable Millie, you are being unruly. Honorable Cheptumo, proceed.
Okay.
Proceed,
Honorable Speaker.
Proceed and ignore
Honorable Speaker.
any unnecessary
Honorable Speaker,
interruptions.
I beg to move that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment number 3, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019 be now read a third time, and I also request Honorable Mbarire to second, Mr. Speaker. Just say you second.
Mr. Speaker, I second.
And I proceed. I propose a question which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said. Sorry. So I propose a question which is that the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019 be now read at that time. I put the question having confirmed that we have numbers, I put the question which is that the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission Amendment number 3 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2019 be now read at that time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of our contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act 2011 and for connected purposes. Order number 11, procedural motion, extension of time for consideration of a specified petition.
Chairman, Environment, I believe is represented by the Vice Chair. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the motion on the extension of the period for consideration of the petition on human-wildlife conflict in Kibwezi East constituency by Honorable Jessica CBAS MP. Honorable Speaker, the petition was presented on the floor of the House on 25th of July 2019 for consideration by the committee pursuant to Standing Order 227, subsection 2. The committee has already met with the petitioner, Honorable Jessica MP, as well as the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. Madam Speaker, as we all are aware, issue of human-wildlife data in form of questions.
Order, Honorable Millie. Order, Honorable Millie. No, the chair is on her feet, moving a report. You are out of order, Honorable Millie. You are totally out of order. Go on, Honorable Sophia. Give the mic to Honorable Sophia. Go on.
Honorable Madam Speaker, as you are aware, the issue of human-wildlife conflict are very rampant in this country, and most of us have been affected by this issue of human-wildlife conflict in our backyards. This is why most of us have raised this matter in form of questions or petition in this House. The Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources have been engaging the ministry on the same, seeking for the last solution to this menace. Madam Speaker, on the case of the petition by Honorable Jessica, the committee met with the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife on 19th September 2019 to respond to the issue that have been discussed in her petition. This, however, there were, however, pertinent issues that the ministry requested that have been granted more times to look into this, and the report back to the committee comprehensively. The committee granted the request and resolved to seek the leave of the House for extension for more time for consideration of the petition. Madam Speaker, The people of Kibwezi East constituency are waiting for a comprehensive response to their petition presented on their behalf by Honorable Jessica.
Order, Honorable Sophia. Order, Honorable Millie. Just sit down, then I talk to you. Honorable Millie. Honorable Millie. The chair is on her feet moving a procedural motion. And you know very, very well that there is no point of order that you can raise on what Honorable Sophia is on her feet about. So the most you can do is to wait for Honorable Sophia to move her motion and make your attempt at your point of order. Because that's a business we have at hand, Honorable Millie. Because you cannot raise a point of order and you're out of order. You cannot talk to me from where you're seated. You can only raise a point of order on what is on the floor. And you cannot, because she's moving a motion. So you're out of order. Let Honorable Sophia prosecute her motion, and then you can do your attempt at the opportune time. Honorable Millie, and you know it. You are a member who knows all the rules of this House. So please do not interfere with Honorable Sophia's procedural motion, because you cannot raise a point of order on her. Honorable Sophia, go on. Order, Honorable Millie. Order, Honorable Millie. I have heard you. Take a seat, Honorable Millie. I have heard you. And take a seat, Honorable Sophia. And in as much as you have raised your point in an out of order manner, I've heard what you've said, and I order for the quorum bell to be rung for 10 minutes. Honorable members, Honorable Whip, is that the whip? And the member walking out. You are not supposed to walk out. Honorable members, we have the requisite quorum. We have the requisite quorum. So, Honorable Sophia, you can pick up from where you left.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Kibwezi East constituency are waiting for a comprehensive response to their petition presented on their behalf by Honorable Jessica. We therefore seek the indulgence of the House to grant more time to the committee to prepare a comprehensive report on the said petition for the people of Kibwezi East constituency. I beg to move, Madam Speaker, and I call upon Honorable Peter Carey to second the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support, to second this motion, Madam Speaker, on extension of time for consideration of the petition of human-wildlife conflicts in Kibwezi East constituency, raised by Hon Jessica Mbalu. Madam Speaker, the reason is that indeed this has been one of the questions that has variously been asked in this House, so to speak, in the last 2 years, and especially this year. We have numerous questions that have been raised to do with human-wildlife conflicts. Some of them have been addressed variously on various dates, but Madam Speaker, looking at the extent of these questions, it became apparent to the committee that there is need to ensure that this matter can be holistically addressed. And we have been in communication and discussions with the ministry, and I can say that the ministry has even put in place a task force to look into these issues of human-wildlife conflicts that have become a big problem in this country. Madam Speaker, so that we can be able to bring to this House something that is comprehensive. I therefore would request that the House do consider
on human-wildlife conflict in Kibwezi East constituency by the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources for a further period of 30 days with effect from the 25th of September 2019. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say no? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, revised sessional paper number 1 of 2019 on the policy framework for reforming education and training for sustainable development in Kenya.
The chairperson, Departmental Committee on Education and Research, Honorable Meli.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move the motion that this addressed severally, and one of it is school safety and security for our students. Madam Speaker, the circumstances under which those young souls passed on is actually very untenable. It is uncalled for, and it is actually as a result of lack of enforcement of government policies, the lay down laws and procedures on construction and even establishment of schools. As you look at it, Madam Speaker, education is one of the fundamental factors of development in any country. And to achieve sustainable economic development without substantial investment in human capital, Kenya's successive development cannot be achieved. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, this country woke up to a sad day. It was sad because it was on that early morning that as we move on as a country, innocent young children, lives were lost because of one, negligence by the owner of the school, by the quality assurance standards officers for enforcing education, and two, and three, Madam Speaker, also inability to ensure that the children are safe. So as we move on, Madam Speaker, this session of paper is actually a policy framework on how to reform education for the next years to come. Session of paper number 1 of 2019 on policy framework on reforming education and training for sustainable development, Madam Speaker, was committed to our committee on education and research on 14th of March 2019. The session of paper provides a framework for delivery of inclusive, equitable, quality and relevant education and training for the whole country. It promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. The paper aligns education and training and research to constitution and harmonizes policies and strategies between the two levels of government. As we speak today, Madam Speaker, our two levels of government, the county and national government, after the 2010 constitution, actually this session of paper is supposed to align education on the two levels, where the national government only looks at the policy level for the ECD and also looks at the policy level for village polytechnics and even early learning centers. The development of policy of session of paper number 1 of 2019, Madam Speaker, on policy framework for reforming education and training for sustainable development was informed by the recommendation of the report on the task force on realignment of education sector to the Constitution of Kenya and the task force on alignment of higher education, science and technology sector with the Constitution. We all know, honorable members in the House, that after the Constitution of 2010, the education system have actually relied on earlier session of papers and even earlier task forces. The purpose of this session of paper, Madam Speaker, is to realign our education paper to our education system to the Constitution of 2010 and more so reforming higher education and even reforming technical education. Madam Speaker, in terms of rationale, the policy provides a framework for the adoption of the competency-based curriculum. Specifically, if adopted, the session of paper will, among others, one, provide the basis for addressing challenges in the education sector, some of which are related to the completion, equality, relevance, and specific special needs of education. As we speak currently, a number of our children, though the government has tried a lot in the 100% transition, a number of our children have actually low transition rates. This session of paper looks at how best our children in all our public schools can actually complete school. And when I talk of completion here, I'm looking at early learning and basic education, which is from basic education, that is from class 1 or grade 1 to grade 12, or yes, that is grade 12, or from class 1 to form 4, which is actually a requirement for our country. Two, it also provides the basis for developing an education sector strategic plan that will promote comprehensive framework for program implementation. As we speak today, I know after the incident in Dagoretti, a number of leaders have called for serious soul searching on who is to blame. But before we do that, if you go to the sector, we have serious strategies and good programs that have been put in place. But the implementation part of it is one thing. How comes that a whole structure like that was put in place? Yet we have very clear systems in the ministry on how schools are registered. Two, in the public works department, how did they approve the structures and to hold 800 students? These are the issues that we are talking about, that leaders all the way from lower levels to the highest levels in the country, we have been left to lament, which is actually not good for us. It is action to be taken. All those who are responsible, including the owners and the sector, have to ensure that laws are followed to the latter. C, the session of paper provides the basis within which all providers of education and training services will engage in the sector. Actually, every provider of the service, be it in the private sector, be it in the public sector, and everyone else, how are we going to engage and ensure that the sector is running smoothly? D, be a planning and a budgeting tool, as it will be linked to the medium-term expenditure framework. And lastly, facilitate the harmonization of various policies, acts, guidelines, and legislation. As we look at it, this session of paper as a committee, we went through it several times. And I think the members of the Education Committee are here. The first session of paper, that's why this is a revised session of paper, we critiqued it as a committee. And we asked the ministry to go back and look at it again, and to include the gaps, and to make sure that the policy framework on education has been filled. We had a lot of gaps in it. How was it addressing the university education? How was it addressing teacher capacity building? And we asked the ministry to go back and fill those gaps. They went back, they filled those particular issues that we wanted. Others, they haven't. And that is why, as we move on, we really wanted a very comprehensive session of paper that will look into education for this period and for the decades to come. Honorable Speaker, in the analysis of the first draft session of paper presented to the committee in March 2019, the committee observed that there were various gaps in the policy paper that needed to be addressed before the policy paper could proceed to implementation. And that's why we said we asked the ministry to go back, and they looked at it, and we also critiqued it, and that's why we felt it is now time that the House can debate and adopt it as a session of paper for this nation. Some of the gaps included lack of underscoring of key educational indicators that would help to measure the impact of educational reforms across all levels. The policy further failed to mention methodology of developing the session of paper and major stakeholders who participated in the development. Actually, we did ask. We asked them to give us a schedule. When did they do the public participation? When did they meet? And what were the discussions about? And those are the issues we critiqued.
I'll give you 2 minutes maximum, Honorable Meli, to finish up.
So, Madam Speaker, we critique that, and we actually ask them to relook at it. On the same note, Madam Speaker, the gaps identified in the Education Committee in the session of paper was shared with the Minister of Education and the report table on the House. I'm glad to report that the Minister of Education, to a large extent, addressed the various gaps in the revised session of paper, which was presented to the committee in April, and a report, the syllabuses, and they had also learning materials up to grade 4. So as we look at the session of paper, we did critique and ask the ministry to go back and even publicize the issue. One of the biggest issues that we had, Madam Speaker, was the issue of the public did not know actually what was happening. The ministry had not committed itself into publicizing it through barazas, through churches, through the media, electronic, both print and electronic, on the issues that are there. If you look at the 844, because we looked at it in the previous system, it was well publicized, even chiefs barazas. It was publicized in church functions. It was publicized everywhere. Our current, the CBC, is otherwise a very good system, if you look at it, Madam Speaker, because it is talking about the talents of the learner. The learner, what is the learner good in? We know very well that we are endowed differently by God. God has endowed our children or being in a very different way. Some are very good footballers. They are not going to be scientists. Some are very good musicians. And we've seen them earn a living through it. So as we look at this, it is actually one of the best systems, but we only need to do a little bit of panel beating. One of the things that the ministry and the government has done quite well, and I want to say this, is the 100% transition. As we move on, we'll need more classes in the secondary section, that is grade 7, 8, 9. That means 6 classes. But are the ministry prepared? That is why, as we move to the next cycle budget, the sector needs a lot of money. So as the classes in primary reduces, the classes in secondary increases. And the same thing applies to the teaching service. I know we have a serious shortage of teachers in this country. The government has put in some resources. There has been a talk of intern teachers. And I want to agree with Honorable Soshon and the unions who are here that the Teacher Service Commission and the unions, we did ask them that let us have the intern teacher so as to fill in the gap of the 90,000 absent teachers for the sake of our children. And we were in agreement as a Committee of Education. So in that note, Madam Speaker, when we look at the sessional paper, there are a number of things that the sessional paper did to address education and training. On university education, I think this one is very clear that as we move ahead, there is need for all universities in the country to have a link to the job market, to the world of work, so that no university is going to train students for the sake of it. What are the roles of these students as they take up and finish their courses in the various universities? You'll realize that a student
Honorable.
A student is going to clear.
Members back there, please consult among yourselves.
Yes. Thank you. Madam Speaker.
And do it in a parliamentary manner.
Yes,
Go on, Honorable Meli.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker, for that.
The team headed by Honorable Kioni.
Honorable Kioni is a ranking member of the House, Madam Speaker, and I think he knows what's to happen. Madam Speaker, when you look at university education, and this one applies to all of us in this House, we have a number of unemployed youth. And this is a time bomb for this country. A country that is not able to give jobs to its citizens is actually at a risk. And in the sessional paper, it is actually asking the universities to look on how they are able to link between universities and the world of work, so that every student who has gone through university education can be able to seek own employment or make the universities train him or her so that he can be able to use his skills to earn a living. Madam Speaker, the paper also presented to the committee. Other concerns raised by the committee have been addressed in the National Education Sector Strategic Plan. As you look at it, Madam Speaker, the sessional paper in its own was actually helped when we asked a number of questions. There are a number of documents that the ministry brought before us, and one of it is the report on the National Education Sector Strategic Plan, that is 2018-2022. Madam Speaker, therefore, with those many recommendations, not few, Honorable Millie, I want to ask that the House consider the sessional paper number 1 of 2019, and the committee recommends as follows: that the National Assembly approves the revised draft sessional paper number 1 of 2019 on the policy framework for reforming education and training for sustainable development in Kenya. And 2, the Ministry of Education should fast-track the implementation of sessional paper number 1 of 2019 in order to put in place a framework for delivery of inclusive, equitable, quality, and relevant education and training and research that promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. Madam Speaker, I beg to move, and I request Honorable Injendi to second.
Honorable Injendi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As stated by our chairperson, as you're aware, the government is spending a lot of money in terms of investing in our educational systems in the country. And in spite of all this, Madam Speaker, we realize that this sector is still facing so many challenges which actually require for a session of paper maybe to guide the Ministry of Education. Some of the challenges, Madam Speaker, that this sector is facing is, for example, as is mentioned, equity, quality, and relevance of education in the country. Madam Speaker, this session of paper is actually addressing this, because you realize most of us, most of our pupils or persons going through this education system, most of them, when they graduate or when they leave the education system, you find that they are actually relevant on the market. You find that, for example, banks currently are not recruiting most of them. They are going for persons who have masters. Banks are leaving out persons who have who are undergraduates. And even those who are finished Form 4. They are finished Form 4, Madam Speaker, and there's nothing they can do for themselves other than just idling around in the villages. So this session of paper, Madam Speaker, is out to address this. The other challenge we have, in spite of the so many resources being put in this system, there is a problem with completion and transition. You find that most persons who are supposed to transit from class 8, the previous system, to Form 1, you find that they're not doing this because of the issue of exams. So, Madam Speaker, you find that this policy paper is actually to address this, to ensure that persons are completing their education levels as required, persons are transiting as required. And as you may realize, Madam Speaker, with the current system now, the channels are so clear that you see coming from ECD, and then primary, when it comes to secondary school, Madam Speaker, it's not like before where all of us go the same system. We have those, Madam Speaker, which you have noted, that they're not very good, for example, in doing courses like math or courses like history, etc., etc. They are good at technical works. So, Madam Speaker, the current system, why we have to have this session paper, is to enable us, those who are good in technical work, after primary, they can actually take that route of technical, then all to the level of a doctorate. Also, Madam Speaker, we also have the other challenge of efficiency in the management of educational resources. Madam Speaker, with so much of these resources, in the ministry, we have so many books every year being purchased for schools, laptops for the schools, but how are we managing them? You find that most of them are going to waste, and this session of paper is to address this. Madam Speaker, also, there's the issue of gender and regional disparities. You recall even, Madam Speaker, the other day, there's a girl who committed suicide because of those challenges of our ladies, our female students. This session of paper is actually to address this. So, Madam Speaker, arising from this, as a committee, we are asking the House actually to support this, and therefore, Madam Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I go on to propose the question, which is that this House notes the report of the Departmental Committee on Education and Research on its consideration of the revised sessional paper number 1 of 2019 on the policy framework for reforming education and training for sustainable development in Kenya, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, September 17th, 2019, and adopts the revised sessional paper number 1 of 2019 on the policy framework for reforming education and training for sustainable development in Kenya. Honorable members, I see a number of requests, and we will have to make do with the hitches that are there today. So we will make sure to take into account the members who are not able to put their requests forward because of the technical hitches. Let us start with the Honorable Jomo Washiali.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me start by thanking the Committee on Education, especially the chair who moved and the vice chair. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to send my condolences on behalf of the people of Mumias East and Kenyans who are watching me on TV now through the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit, to the families that lost their young ones in the yesterday's tragedy. Madam Speaker, it is painful. I am a parent. I am a parent of a number of students ranging all the way from university and up to primary. And I was imagining that if I was that parent who has lost the young one, like the ones I was seeing today on the newspaper, who went out to go to learn and find themselves in a situation which they did not. I am saying this because, Madam Speaker, in the last year's candidates in my constituency, we only missed 4 students, and this is because of the 100% transition. But what I would also want to urge the ministry, that the students, they brought money to build one classroom for 100% transition, and I hope the chairman is listening to this. The money that was brought by the ministry to develop one extra classroom for 100% transition, the students who are in this year's Form 1 will be going to Form 2 next year. Now, up to today, this is a 3rd term, and yet the ministry has not given money to now take care of the same students that they developed the infrastructure for, so that they can take care of those students when they go to Form 2. Madam Speaker, I want to support this policy because on the issues of ranking, Madam Speaker, has been a very big issue, and of course the advantages and the disadvantages of ranking have been discussed in this House in a different motion. I don't want to belabor, but it is important that Kenyans remain in harmony, such that the ranking aspects that really used to put different levels of Kenyans should be done away with. Honorable Speaker, I also want to, just like the chairman said about the recruitment of interns, Madam Speaker, at least this is a paper that has enabled interns to be recruited, and I just want to agree with what the chairman said, and wish that these interns should not stop at this point. They should continue recruiting interns as long as jobs are not being provided fully like they are supposed to. Madam Speaker, there is the other part of the education which is dealing with the technical colleges. Madam Speaker, we can now see quite a number of technical colleges across the country, and I'm sure with the current curriculum, these technical colleges will really go a long way to support the learning programs that this government has put in place. However, Madam Speaker, as members of parliament, we are worried when in this current curricula, parents are not aware of what is happening. We are worried when teachers, you realize just the other day, teachers, when they were being taken through the current CPC, some of them resisted, and today, some of them have been interdicted, some of them are in courts, and we should find a way of resolving this instead of just forcing a program on these teachers. For example, the computers, Madam Speaker, and the laptops are not fairly distributed in this republic. There are some schools that do not have.
Honorable, 5 minutes for the sessional paper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that consideration. Actually, there are issues that the Chair raised, because when the ministry was developing this paper, Madam Chair, you must have heard, Madam Speaker, you must have heard from the chair himself. This is a very serious omission, and I'm sure if this would have been addressed, the problems that we are currently having with the parents, the problem that we are currently having with teachers, the problems that we are currently having with the missing laptops, that should have been sorted out. Madam Speaker, I support.
The Honorable Member for Kimilili, Honorable Barasa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this sessional paper. And I really want to say that if there is any important sector of government, then it's education. And also, Madam Speaker, I support this sessional paper because one of the state departments that has also been infested by cartels is the education sector, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are so many problems that ails the education subsector. And while appreciating that the government has put in too much money into this very important sector, Madam Speaker, but I also want to decry that we have some misfiring, especially in the manner which these infrastructural development funds are issued, Madam Speaker. We have some schools that are completely dilapidated and they need this amount of money, Madam Speaker, but they never get this amount of money, Madam Speaker. I know that the government rolled out free secondary education, especially in day schools, Madam Speaker, but we have some principals who have been chasing away students to look for money for lunch. And as far as I'm concerned, a child who has not paid fees for lunch should only be denied a chance to enter the dining hall, but that a child should not be denied an opportunity to go and sit in the class, Madam Speaker, because the government will have already paid money for this effect, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to bring to the attention of the House that we have some rogue officers at the Ministry of Education who are actually colluding with business people. Today, you go everywhere, you will see schools being initiated, Madam Speaker, even without single structures. Because when you begin a school that is not registered, and you put children of this country to be learning under a tree, to be learning under structures that are completely dilapidated, Madam Speaker, then you will be standing on the path of education of this child, because this child will never get quality education, Madam Speaker. And this is something which the Ministry of Education should move with speedy, move around this country, and correct this mess that is happening every day, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today, the government of Kenya has tried to make education not very expensive. But we have some principles, Madam Speaker, who will, develop, big use, very expensive big use, coming up with the harambes and heaping the amount of money that parents are to contribute on the fees, Madam Speaker. So they are taking back the gain that this country has attained the education subsector back to the days when education was very expensive. So we need to smoke out the officers of government from Jogo House who are sleeping on their duty, who are not monitoring to ensure that government policies are implemented, Madam Speaker, so that we can really make education affordable the way it is, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to pass my condolences to the families of those who lost their young ones in the tragedy in a school in Gando, Madam Speaker. And I really want to say that those children, they never deserve to die. And I really want to blame the Ministry of Education because they have a responsibility of auditing through their quality assurance department to ensure that the children of this country are learning from structures that have met the engineering standards, Madam Speaker. And I really want also to, because one of the parents of the child comes from my constituency, Whitney Wekesa, and I really want to pray that God will stand with that family and give the family strength, Madam Speaker. So I want also to challenge this committee that going forward into the future, they should also focus on where the Ministry of Education is not doing very well. Because when you want to assist the State Department improve, you focus on the areas where they are not doing very well, so that we can assist the government, better learning institution for this country, ensure that the children of this country gets affordable education for all, Madam Speaker, and going forward, we really need to develop a mechanism. We need to formulate, a rationale on how.
Honorable members, measure your words to fit into 5 minutes. Let's have the Honorable Awero Kiare, member for Dagoretti South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I do want to first start by sending a message of condolence to all the families that lost their loved ones from the tragedy that happened yesterday at Precious Talent Academy, which is in Ngando Ward in our constituency of Dagoretti South constituency. Madam Speaker, I'd like to say that yesterday was indeed a very dark day for the residents of Dagoretti South and beyond, because the people who are affected by the calamity that happened yesterday are people from all over the country, Madam Speaker. And I can assure you that yesterday we spent a very long day taking care of the people who are injured, people who are affected by this calamity, and we want to give a special thanks first to the first responders who are the community of Ngando Ward, who appeared there in minutes to start and help us with the search and rescue. The children who were evacuated to Kenyatta National Hospital were well taken care of, and I would like to report to the nation here today, Madam Speaker, that 60 out of the 64 students who were taken to hospital are actually out and with their families, Madam Speaker, and the few who are remaining are actually in stable condition. Madam Speaker, this is not a time for blame game, but questions and hard questions must be asked, Madam Speaker. We need to ask, where are the quality control people in the Ministry of Education when such schools are coming up, Madam Speaker? We need to ask, where is the Department of City Planning in the Nairobi City County when such structures are coming up in informal sectors? We need to ask, what is the driving force of proprietors of some of these schools when they build such structures where students will be dying in their pursuit for knowledge, looking for a better life that can break them away from the cycle of poverty, Madam Speaker? These are questions that we need to be asking, and these are questions that we need to start finding solutions for. And I am looking very keenly into this sessional paper number 1 to see if some of these questions are getting the answers. Madam Speaker, allow me to take this opportunity to thank the chairperson of this committee and the entire committee for bringing up this session paper number 1, Madam Speaker. And I am seeing that they are well guided by the principles that I went to school for as a trained teacher on how education needs to be undertaken in this country. They are starting out by taking us through the philosophy that informs how they are doing up, how we want to bring up education in this country, Madam Speaker. Their philosophy of providing a holistic and quality education that meets the standards that are world standards, Madam Speaker, are something that can guide this country to greater heights, Madam Speaker. They are looking within this sessional paper to see that we enhance access, equity, and quality and relevance of education. Madam Speaker, this is captured also in the framework for the national qualifications in this sessional paper. And Madam Speaker, allow me to at this point say that a wise person once said that if a fish was to be adjudicated by their quality, by their ability to climb a tree, that fish would grow up knowing that it is stupid, Madam Speaker. How we judge our people in their examinations should be based on their talents. God gives justice. I believe that even when majority have their way, minority must have their say. So that's all I wanted to say, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to raise a procedural issue, which I was not given a chance. I will get a chance to raise it at a later date. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I want to say that I support this sessional paper. But even in supporting, because one of the things it seeks to do is to seek to realign
education to the Constitution, especially on the issue of equality and equity. Because of the short time, I will just say, raise a few issues. One, that even as we are doing that, we must look at the issue of the medium of instruction in schools. That our policy, the government policy, still provides the medium of instruction in peri-urban areas is mother tongue. How do you teach a child in mother tongue and expect them to come and compete in English with children who have been speaking in English all their lives? Secondly, on the issue of the CBC, I think the Honorable Member for Dagoretti has raised it. But I've been looking at some of the things and some of the homeworks that are coming to us at home, and I see that the children are asked to go and print some work. Who prints work? Who will be printing work in Suba North, in Remba Island or Mfangano Island? Where will they be printing? I think let us be realistic, and the way we should be going is to bring the policy before the House, before then we implement. Because some of the things that we do may be very wonderful if implemented in the United States of America, but may not be realistic for Kenya at this point. And Mr. Speaker, the other issue that I wanted to talk about is that a lot of people are increasingly saying that we no longer have an issue of girl child education because we are now at par. That is very far from the truth. If you look at most of the schools, maybe perhaps only for around central Kenya, for most of the country, actually, gender parity is still a mirage. If you go to places like my constituency, you'll find that girls at entry point, the numbers are very high. Transition rates become very low, and completion rates are even much lower. And therefore, one of the things that we need to do is ensure that we increase the number of girls that are not only joining, but transiting and finishing. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk to the issue, again, of equity, even in terms of resource allocation, because, Mr. Speaker, what we have currently, under CDF Act, all of us gave equal funds. And sometimes we hear the members of the public challenging us, why can't you, for instance, build a school like so-and-so has built? Especially people who have town schools. You find one town school has only 5 schools or 10 schools. Most of the rural schools are over 300. How do you compare with somebody who gets about 60 million for infrastructure development with somebody else who is getting the same 60 million and has no school? My brother here from the Honorable Member has just, it's unfortunate the circumstance that they've just gone through. But one of the challenges he has is that he cannot build a school because there is no land. What about me? I have so much land for schools, but with no money. So we must find a balance so that these places that need more money for resources get. But even for areas like Dagoretti South, then we must also think as a government to compulsorily acquire some public land. You can't have a school like Lenana School having so much land. Mr. Speaker, I know a lot of my family went to school in Lenana School. So I've been around the school, and they have a lot of land. Why would they have land and the other children are struggling? Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to, of course, I've done it before, but I also want to send condolences and perhaps encourage the members of those families to sue the government for compensation for the loss of life, and then we will finally wake up. And very, very finally, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member for Dagoretti has asked many questions. The only question I'll ask is how do we deal with poverty? Because it's all about poverty, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Very well spoken, the Honorable Millie. Honorable members, I see a list, there are members here, and I want you to just relax. Everybody who is here on this list will speak. So you don't need to carry up your hands, the Honorable Zamba. If you have your card in the machine, you will speak. I'll follow the list. The Honorable Ngeno. The list is here, Honorable members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also wish to thank you, Speaker, for this particular moment. And first, before I prosecute the issue at hand, I will also wish to pass my condolences on my behalf, my family and the people of Emuru Wadikir, to the families and friends of those lost souls. Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate at this age and era that such a thing should happen, especially within town. Mr. Speaker, we were expecting such things to happen in the villages where nobody can access. But in Nairobi town, it's very unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, I was even asking the member of parliament for that area whether the investor, the owner of that school, has been arrested. And I'm told he's not arrested yet. I'm wondering, where is he? These policemen are always swift on arresting useless people who don't even have issues. Finding it, including me, myself, who was serving the republic and the people who elected me, but they are failing to arrest a person who has killed more than 7 students. Mr. Speaker, I think that is very unfortunate. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would also wish to say I support this particular sessional paper, and especially when it brings the issue of access to education. Mr. Speaker, it's only unfortunate that at times, accessing education in Kenya, although it has been actually factored in the constitution, there are still some areas who do not have access to education because of inequalities, because of absence of schools, because of absence of money, and such like things. Mr. Speaker, I wish to ask the nation, and especially the Committee on Education, to actually seriously assess this issue of access to education, so that our children, like other people's children, have access to education. Mr. Speaker, the reason why I was arrested last time was because I was trying to visit some schools in the Mao settlement scheme to ascertain whether those students really have their schools closed or not. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, there are so many students, pupils, who cannot access education in those particular areas because somebody who works for the government has decided to close the schools down illegally. Mr. Speaker, another issue which I would have wished also to prosecute, Mr. Speaker, is the 100% transition to secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, we support that idea because we really want to have our pupils who sit for the year exams in Standard 8 to access secondary education. But we should not end there. Mr. Speaker, we should also make, as a country, a resolution that we need to have, as much as we need to have 100% transition to secondary school, we should also have 100% transition to university and colleges. Why do we have students who cannot qualify to join colleges, who do not qualify to join universities? Mr. Speaker, in many countries, there is 100% transition from secondary to universities. And in fact, the university education are free in those countries. The only difference, Mr. Speaker, is the courses you are going to join. So it doesn't matter whether you have a D-, you have an E, you will still join university. But whichever course you are going to study is what makes a difference. Mr. Speaker, we also wish to ask the Ministry of Education, when they give a resolution or when they make laws, their own bylaws or whichever kind of laws is that, like stop building more secondary schools, they should understand that secondary schools are being built based on the needs, the number of students who do exams. Now you are telling us we need 100% transition to the secondary schools, and you are telling us also we should not build secondary schools. In my constituency alone, we need over 100 more classrooms, another 10 secondary schools for the 100% transition. Mr. Speaker, the ministry should always align the issues they have with the needs in the ground. Mr. Speaker, the issue of trainers also, the teachers to the primary schools and the secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, we normally have recruitment of teachers in this school, in this country. The unfortunate part of it is that whenever we do the recruitment of teachers, you deal with teachers who completed their colleges 2010. You wonder, Mr. Speaker, why will somebody graduate, why will somebody go to college and then come and sit at home for almost 20 years, almost retiring before being recruited? And we have a shortage of over 100,000 teachers in this country. We should actually make it and this is to the chairman of education, make it a rule that every teacher who graduates from a college is recruited immediately as a teacher in primary schools to teach. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of additional universities. The minister was also telling us the other day they are closing down some universities. We have so many students who want to study in universities. No one, and this one should be based on public participation to understand whether do we still need more universities or we need to close them down. As far as I'm concerned, I also need
The Honorable Member for Murwa Dikir, well spoken. We shall have the Honorable Ochanda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think from outset, I want to believe that our chair, our good chair of education, has quite a job cut out for him. The sector has the accumulation of tragedies. And we have accumulation of mishaps and mismatches, to an extent that if we look forward only to this session of paper, or if you only look forward to this policy paper, then we may not be doing the right thing to this country. Today, as we are looking at this report, if you miss particularly education system in any country, if you want to bring down a society, one of the softest way of doing it is through education. And if you're not careful as a country, and as we are looking at this today, we need to recognize many things. Number one, for example, if 844 had a problem, the guys in 844, the students in 844, by 2023 or 2024, they are going to be doing the 40 years. So what have we done in the 40 years to this nation? This is the hard question that we need to answer. The 40 years since the inception of 844 to the time that is going to end in, let's say, 2023 by class 8, if you use that as the main indicator, there's a big problem. We have wasted the society for 40 good years. So there needs to be a situation where some of these things, either constant revision, because the society is changing. Definitely we must be seeing or looking through that constantly there are things that are going to be changing or moving from one. The dynamics that are there in the society needs to be looked through in the prism also of education. That's one critical thing that I wanted to bring out, Mr. Speaker, that we have wasted a good chunk of Kenyans. If we are churning out, let's say, 1 million only each year, and we'll be doing 40 years in 2024, we shall have wasted 40 million Kenyans. It's a big loss. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, that I wanted to bring around is the extent of the mismatches. We come up with one thing, either at the primary level, we don't look at it through the secondary level, and we also don't look at it in terms of tertiary and, let's say, university level. As at the moment, when we are changing our direction more to the technical direction, you can straight away see the mismatches that we already have. Number one, who is training technical teachers in this country? Which colleges are doing that? When we are in the move of seeing that virtually every constituency will have a TTI, every constituency will have a KMTC, every constituency will have a TTC. What are we doing if that is the direction? Who is training these technical training institute teachers? It has been one college only in the whole country, and it's like it's also going down. The Kenya Institute of Teachers Training College here in Gigiri. So which other one? And where are we going with these people, the graduates of these TTIs in the next 4 years? If every constituency has 40 plumbers each year graduating, and we have 290 constituencies, look at the amount of the number of plumbers that we're going to be having in this country. Where are we going? I think this thing still needs to be looked at very, very seriously. We're talking about, and I've mentioned this one time before, we are talking about this 100% transition. Transiting everybody at Form 4, that you are there, you must go somewhere. We are losing the incentive in terms of even of good work in schools. Because if you have an E, you are allowed to go to a TTI. You have an E, and you go to a TTI, and when you are in a TTI, you have scholarships, you have 70,000. Yet when you go to a university, you don't have any support. You are left with the vagaries of help, which in the end doesn't support everybody else the way it is listed that is going to be supporting every TTI student. So I think there's still a lot that we really have to look at in this. Look at the flow of our policy arrangements. This mishaps that we are seeing, if each one of all the members of parliament would have taken like 1 week only, we go to primary schools, for example, and see them from outside, and you think they are classes. Try to get into some of them. I've tried this last 1 week alone, and I'm realizing that we don't have classes. There are classes that were done by parents in the 70s or in the 60s. The government was not doing them. But now we come up with a policy that has certain standards. The policy comes up in 2000, and they don't look at it backwards to when those classrooms and the classes were done those years. I think there's a major problem, Mr. Speaker.
Very well spoken, the Honorable Chanda. We shall have the Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And on the onset, let me start by passing my condolences to the families of who are bereaved following that tragedy. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the 6.5 million Kenyans with disability, I want to pass my sincere condolences. As a parent, I feel their pain. I know the challenges they are going through. May God give them strength at this trying moment. Honorable Speaker, I do support this session paper number 1 of 2019. And let me congratulate the Committee on Education for having done a thorough job. Honorable Speaker, competency-based curriculum have come at the right time, especially when we have Professor Magoha as the CS of Education, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker is a known scholar whom I know will make sure that we implement this one to the letter with surgical precision, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, because the 844 system of education, let's speak the truth, it have let us down, Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, our brains are like the memory card. If you put some rational and required information, it will fill. If you have a 2 GB brain or 64 GB brain like this one of mine, Honorable Speaker, some will be filled very quickly and hang, Honorable Speaker. Remember, Honorable Speaker, some of the lessons, who discovered Mount Kenya? What is that relationship to do with somebody who will become a doctor? The insect parts, what does that have to do with somebody who will be an accountant? Barnolius principle, what does that have to do with somebody who will become a bank manager, Honorable Speaker? So we are actually filling our memory card for information that we may not require. We require competency-based curriculum, Honorable Speaker, to exploit the talent of our young youth, because all of us cannot be doctors. Who will be treating who? All of us cannot be engineers. All of us cannot be farmers. All of us cannot be carpenters, because we will be making chairs for other people.
Because governments must be in charge of education, because it is in the Constitution and supposed to be free and compulsory. So the government should not be rushing there only when a tragedy has happened. But on the onset, let me thank the Chair of Education, and let me thank the members of the Education Committee for a good work, because this then transists, they move us a step forward to bring a sessional paper that will actually put in place the legal framework for the new curriculum. The new curriculum, as it comes, I see so many fears from both members of Parliament and the public. But indeed, I want to really quash those fears, that the time for change comes. And education system curriculums always have to be changed depending on the atmosphere and the changes that have occurred. This curriculum is not just about the CBC alone that we are talking about, but it's all about aligning the education system to the Constitution 2010 in the holistic manner. And I'm happy Honorable Sangok having mentioned issues of the people with disability. How are we taking care of them? Access and quality and the holistic system. I'm also very happy about the members of Parliament who captured a situation whereby it's not that everybody must learn and become a doctor or become a lawyer, because that's not the way to go. The 844 was good, but it did as good during that particular time. If you look at the history of education at the time when it's begun by the Europeans, it comes in and is adopted by the colonial government as a tool for employment, as a tool to get labor for the market that was available. But later on, when we get independence, it is a tool to fill up the gaps and jobs that have been left by the Europeans who had left. And that's why we were concentrating a lot on pedagogy. But now we have already filled those positions. And therefore, we need to diversify an educational system which will actually be all-inclusive. And when you look in that system, there are several lines. We have the guys who are doing pedagogy. We have to bring the other skills that we were not giving emphasis, like affective skills, psychomotor skills, and so on and so forth. So we're not concentrating alone only on the cognitive skills which have made our students to become machines. Honorable Speaker, do you know that even as we struggle with exams in the classes and in the schools, it's because all the exams are actually on the phone. You can actually answer all the exams that are set by just doing a smartphone and Googling. When did Vasco da Gama first arrive on the East African coast? You can Google and get. So we must stop that and get into a more practical system where we can ask a student, could you draw for us or design for us an environmentally friendly market in Nairobi? That is where we are moving this education. So I really want to remove those fears that the Kenyans are having. And we face this new system in a more strong way. However, like the chair did indicate, and I think I may not be having much time, there is need to put everybody to be part and parcel of this particular system. And everybody to be aware. And everybody to be on board. It should not be done in a way that some teachers are being interdicted and some are in prison for it to work. Because we can still go with the system by putting everybody on board, and everybody becomes a supporter of the system, understands it, and cheers it up. So that is one thing that, like the chair did indicate, we shall be asking the minister to implement moving forward, so that it is a system for all Kenyans, and not a system for just a few individual or a machine. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I can see my time is over, but that's my contribution. Thank you.
Honorable Mabonga, member for Bumula.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to voice my sentiments on this session of paper. But from onset, Mr. Speaker, I wish also to pass my condolence to the affected families and my friend, my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Dakoreti, for during this difficult moment of losing the young ones. Mr. Speaker, this is a very timely paper before us today. And as we look into issues of education, Mr. Speaker, we need to realize that all of us, all human beings, are born with talents. And it's true, when this country is seriously looking into tapping into the talents of our young ones, we should put some things right from the very beginning. Because if we get the foundation of this curriculum right, this competence-based curriculum right, we are likely to build a nation that will have a strong image outside there. We will make our young ones remain competitive and self-sufficient. As the chair indicated, the chair of education, Mr. Speaker, you realize that one of the things that the ministry overlooked was actually to involve everybody to ensure that he's on board when they are rolling out this curriculum. This is not a one-man show, Mr. Speaker. It's important that all the stakeholders are involved and give their views. Just like what Honorable Member has said of Mhaya. That's not very good to victimize some people who have dissenting voices, especially those teachers who are suffering today because of these views they gave. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, in this country, you realize, I've been in schools. I come from a rural constituency, Mr. Speaker. The methodology that is being used to roll out this curriculum is likely to fail. And those are the fears we are addressing, Mr. Speaker, that those people who are responsible, they should take into account. Or else, Mr. Speaker, in this house you realize, actually, especially the primary schools, most of us, our children, go to private schools. This kind of curriculum is likely to benefit a few in this country. And therefore, the majority of Kenyans, the poor Kenyans, are likely to suffer. Mr. Speaker, you walk in some constituencies and you realize that some of the schools that we have in rural schools, they do not even have power. And we are talking of our children using the gadgets. How are they going to access this? Every evening I see My small boy wants to do some printing. Where will these young boys and girls in the villages get this facility? So the government must be serious, Mr. Speaker. We are not experimenting some of the things to our children. We have to be serious, and these are some of the concerns that we are raising. If 844 had to focus on anything to do with the so-called curriculum-oriented subjects, talk of music, talk of carpentry and joinery, some of these things could have just been achieved. We are not trying to say that we are stopping the new curriculum, but what we are saying, Mr. Speaker, is let everybody be involved. Talk of the university, be involved, the tertiary, be involved, the teachers be involved, let the minister listen, and any other who is involved in rolling out this curriculum, so that we get the best of our children in this country. I see my time is up, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for this opportunity, but those are my contribution to this session paper that should be factored into rolling out this new curriculum. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well spoken. SDGs leave no one behind. We shall have the Honorable Zambia, member for Kilome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise actually to support this session paper, one of 2019. Let me first also convey my condolences to the affected families yesterday, and also in my constituency, where one of two students drowned into a seaway within a school compound, and one passed on due to also that kind of negligence. I want to contribute on this, and I will be very specific when it comes to the issues of the current system. You find that most of the students who have graduated, there is a very big gap when it comes to relation to the job market. This session of paper insists into a way where a student will be well interlinked with whatever he's studying to the current situation in the market. Special interlinkages to the industries is also a key factor we have even come up with in this session of paper as a member of the committee. And I would also like to insist that this session of paper is actually taking care of the practical issues several members have raised about it. We want to have our students, when they go to school, after they are through their academics, they are able to convert the issues they have learned in the schools into practical. We have so many graduates who have studied in different fields, but they cannot implement actually what they have learned in the schools. And this one has not, that's why we have not addressed the employment gap we have in this country. There is issue of inspection in the schools. We have taken care of that through the Quality Assurance Department, and you see what is happening now. We've recommended about the ministry to be keen on the quality assurance officers who have actually not done their work enough, because we have a lot of mess in most of the schools in the country, and that one has been as a result of a slow move by the same officers in the same ministry. And let me say that most of the schools have not been able to get equal funding from the ministry. As we speak of the 100% transition, we have so many schools which have been affected by the capitation, and I think the session of paper is taking also care of that. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, when it comes to issues of understaffing in our schools, we have so many challenges. We have, in our school, you can find that instead of having around 10 teachers, we have only 4. Meaning that the quality of education is still going down because of understaffing. This session of paper has taken care of that by ensuring that we have interns who immediately after they graduate, they can be absorbed in the schools to actually bridge the gap. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Moroto, member for Kapenguria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You have given me also this opportunity to add my voice. I want to first and foremost congratulate the Education Committee, the chair and the team, because they have come with a very important item that's going to sort out some issues in the Ministry of Education. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank even some of the members who have talked. And in fact, as everybody is contributing here, it's the same idea even the masses outside there discuss. Yes, some with a surprise, like now the current new curriculum taking place. Mr. Speaker, some of us are asking ourselves, how did it start? Who initiated? Because it has not even come to this house. And not only in the house, even in the field, where parents, when you go to, you attend parents' meeting associations in the school, nobody even talking about it. And I've seen, Mr. Speaker, because some of us have been here for long, anything initiated by a person, like now when we talk about the 844, even when we were doing the constitution, the new constitution of Kenya in Bomas, and also in this house, and outside the rallies which were going on, we always target an individual, forgetting that this person one time will not be there. But the Kenyans, those who will be there, will continue, and they will be served by whatever is passed. By then, they all talk, and where the people think appointing was Moi. Now it's not there. That's why we are crying and saying we want to go back and make another constitution. Now we are in education, the same. Because of 844, somebody says, it is not me who started this one here, can I come with mine? I think, Mr. Speaker, we should not allow some individuals just to come up from nowhere. When we were working on the issue of or appointing the current CS, most of those guys who are in Nairobi praised him so much. But Mr. Speaker, some of us are disappointed. In fact, 2 weeks ago, he was in Kapenguria, West Pokot. In fact, he was not able even to visit 1, 2, 3 schools. He visited one, let's say about 2 schools. And he disappeared. Because he noted the message which is going on. And people are preparing to ask him questions. Like when we talk about the CPC. Mr. Speaker, I have children in academic schools, private schools, and some in public. The public ones are totally suffering. It is only the people who are enjoying. It's the rich, those who have their children in private schools. A child is asked to come with comforts. Where will the other one? In fact, like now, some of our areas, the ASAL areas in the whole, and some areas. Again, there is the apron. They are told come with aprons. They buy new apron for them to work, Mr. Speaker. Now that's one, because of time, I just want to say, as this house here, the Honorable House, we are elected to bring good things to the people who trusted us. Let us not be rushing. I hope after what we are discussing now, some other major and important issues, especially pertaining to education, so that we can save future education of this country. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Gutu. The Honorable Member for Ijara, I see you complaining, but your card is not, have you put your card? No, it does not matter. If the honorable member, if I cannot see you here, then what do I do? I'm not God.
Thank you.
The honorable, go to proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to this sessional paper. So, Speaker, I want to start by consoling the families that lost their beloved ones yesterday following the collapse of a building. I know that people may not see the link between what happened yesterday and what we are discussing as part of the mandate of the Ministry of Education in the current sessional paper. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that the issue of quality control and assurance are featuring broadly in this paper and demanding that the ministry be able to take this sector very seriously by giving Kenyans the required security and the safety that is required in the learning environment. The sessional paper looks at the expansion that the country has experienced and picks up the areas that need to be improved for this expansion to be useful to the building of this nation and also for the livelihood of our young children. We know the country has experienced 100%, close to 100% transition, especially from primary to secondary school. So this sessional paper attempts to answer gaps that need to be addressed if the government has to achieve the required outcome of this transition. The Speaker also, the sessional paper introduces new perspectives in terms of youth unemployment, focusing more on retooling of the TVETs and also on emphasizing more teaching of ICT for instruction as well, and also for management. It gives hope to the youth, especially because the area of TVET has been widely emphasized, and the options for expansion provided, so that the youths do not have to be limited to academic achievements. They can also be allowed to develop the other skills that have not been addressed adequately by the previous policies. It also talks about how to manage the expansion that the country is experiencing, especially in education, looking at areas that need to be addressed, brings out the issue of resource mobilization very clearly, and poses a challenge, especially to university education, about what has been seen as endless expansion that has eventually left the universities naked after the change in the performance of examinations. So it brings in the private sector as a key partner and demands the universities to be able to engage within their systems to generate resources through research and other options, which can enable the universities to run irrespective of the dynamics that result from performance of examinations. The Speaker, the sessional paper also looks at special groups with a lot of emphasis on the expansion of resources for these special groups and also the necessary human resources. We know that the special education for special needs students has not been well addressed previously. We know that even currently we have up to count level where you may not have facilities that really address the special needs students. So the sessional paper addresses this area very adequately with the intention to ensure that improved access to education also considers equity. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that I support the sessional paper. Thank you.
Very well spoken. The honorable member for Ijara, now I see you, and I recognize that you've been here. I'll give you this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me. And I want on onset to thank the Committee of Education for bringing this sessional paper 1 of 2019. And I want to again send my condolences to the school, the peoples, and to the entire nation for the loss. Mr. Speaker, by supporting this sessional paper, I want to say that education is one of the fundamental pillars of development and sustainable development in a nation. And without proper and structured educational program, then we'll not be able to invest as a country. And investing in human capital is very, very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this sessional paper is addressing itself in realignment of the education sector to our constitution, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, our constitution has given, through the Bills of Rights, education is one of the rights of every person within Kenya, Mr. Speaker. As much as I agree with the reforms in education, Mr. Speaker, and as much as I agree and I support a world-class standard of education in Kenya, but I have a lot of reservation because we are not bringing on board the reality and the practical issues on ground. Because if we do not capture the practical issues, the problems that are reflected in some of the constituencies and in the country, then we'll not be able to get a world-class standard of education, Mr. Speaker. If you go to my constituency, for example, almost 3/4 of my schools are closed because I do not have teachers. Because of security, my teachers are not there. Because, again, we do not have water facilities, we do not have security. All these issues are interrelated, Mr. Speaker, to give a holistic educational program for a certain given areas, Mr. Speaker. And because those things are not there, and the policy is addressing on very beautiful things, but it is leaving out the crucial, practical problems that are existing already. Because if we want to reform education and we do not capture a holistic approach to education, then we'll not be able to be successful and we'll not be able to address the gaps that we have. Mr. Speaker, completely I agree with some of the beautiful recommendations that the committee are giving. And I want to tell them thank you so much and congratulations for bringing those beautiful. But again, when you are addressing reforming of the whole of education sector, then we need to completely and holistically look at all these issues that are affecting the peoples all over, and more so, particularly, issues when it comes to, we have classes. When we have, particularly when we have classes, and when we have peoples who go to private schools getting better services, and when we have public schools all over that are suffering, Mr. Speaker.
What is out of order? Just hold on, the Honorable Member for Ejar. What is out of order, the Honorable Chris Wamalo?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is just seeking your direction in terms of the 0 hour, which is just at the corner.
We will stop there on this one in compliance with the directions of the Speaker earlier on, that at 6:30 exactly, we shall be dealing with the 0 hour issue, and the man of the moment is the Honorable Sossion. So those honorable members who have spoken on this one, thank you very much. There's been a lot of interest. The Honorable Mushangi was waiting with his wings spread out, ready to speak on this one. The Honorable Kimunya, I'm sure you will be able to do justice to that at the next time that we shall set it down for hearing. But for now, the Honorable Sossion. The Honorable Sossion. Yes, you will, but let him do what he needs to do first. On this one? Just hold on, the Honorable Kaluma. You need to allow him to move. Then you can do what you are doing by a point of order. I'll allow you. Let the Honorable Sossion do his bit. Then I'll let you say what you want to say. The Honorable Sossion, proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move the matter that is at hand, particularly the state of the school's infrastructure, in relation to the tragedy that happened yesterday at the Precious Talent Academy in Nairobi City in Dagoretti constituency, which of course, as Adalaron stated, it is an indicator of many things that are wrong in our education system. Even as we debate the sessional paper that we've just been debating, I think this is a very critical component that should be a standalone issue that this Parliament must apply its minds and its ability. Mr. Speaker, here we are not talking about making legislation. We are talking about effective implementation of the legislation that are in place. As I move this, Honorable Speaker, the analysis of Kenyan legal framework in the management of education system compared to many nations in the world as actually one of the best in terms of legal framework. Mr. Speaker, looking at the tragedy, and of course, we send our condolences to the affected families. It's a very painful thing that students have to walk to schools, and within a very short time, a number of them are dead out of a tragedy that can be prevented. Mr. Speaker, what has just happened and what could easily happen in other schools is a tragedy that can be prevented. And I wish to point out that the tragedy that has been experienced in that school and some of the tragedies that have been experienced in other schools is out of negligence and the inability of the Ministry of Education to enforce the existing laws, particularly on setting of minimum national standards in operations of schools. And this is in relation with legislation. I've said one, we have the legislation in place. That guides the process of registering any public school or any private school. And all schools are subject to the law. No school is an exception, whether it's public or private. We must all subscribe to the law. And according to the law, no school should operate without a license of registration. And it's a tragedy that we are talking about thousands and thousands of private schools that are operating without licenses. We are talking about buildings that are not supervised and certified by the public works officers. We are talking about buildings, classrooms, toilets, and all other infrastructure that are not supervised and approved by the public health officers. We are talking about classrooms and buildings where our children visit every morning and purport to carry out their learning activities, and they are not quality assured by the quality assurance and standards officers. Mr. Speaker, this is a tragedy that we can use our little ones, the young children of these nations, as a frontier of business. Mr. Speaker, I think, and of course the minister has taken responsibility. The chair of Education Committee is here, and these are matters that we raised. And the minister at some point promised that by the middle of June, he would ensure that all schools, whether public or private, comply with the law, and those that do not meet the law would really be deregistered. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the truth is there are a lot of chain of private schools that are existing and operating illegally, and these schools must be closed down. There should be no exception when it comes to the law. And also the leadership of the ministry. Is it protecting cartels? Are cartels hijacking and taking over our public institution, and particularly the ministry, to the extent that we risk lives of children?
The Honorable Sossion, you know, when this kind of motion usually is 3 minutes. So you for you, I'll allow you 2 more so that you wind, because it's yours. Yes, so that you set the pace. 2 more minutes.
I won't take 2 more minutes. I'll be very fair to the rest of us who are here. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that is straightforward, that requires all our attention, and I recommend that, 1, all learning institutions, facilities in all learning institutions, whether public or private, should be audited afresh and certify that they are safe for our children, whether public or private. 2, all schools that are not authorized, whether private or public, should not be given any exception, but should be closed down. 3, the minimum standards for all infrastructure facilities in both public and private schools as set out in the legal framework should be enforced. If we did that, we will not be talking about tragedies. Kenya is a signatory to Safe Schools, and our children must be safe in all learning institutions, whether public or private. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well spoken. The Honorable Kaluma, what did you want to say earlier on? I had directed that I'll give you an opportunity.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I thank you. Mr. Speaker, my issue was with the previous matter.
Or the other one?
With your permission, with the sessional paper. And Mr. Speaker, my thinking was that public participation is a requirement of the law. Yes. And in as much as, Mr. Speaker, we now have this sessional paper we've been hearing is ready against programs being implemented, today it is before us. Looking at that, sessional paper, there is clearly no proper engagement of the people of Kenya.
The Honorable Kaluma,
I will raise that, Mr. Speaker, but
very well, very well. The Honorable Kaluma, you may have very valid points, but this is the 0 hour. Kindly allow us to deal with the matter that has been raised by the Honorable Sossion, and I will strictly just follow the list the way it is. The Honorable Chris Wamalwa, there's no priority in this. I will allow the Honorable KJ, the member for Dagoretti South, to have the first go at it. The Honorable Kaluma, the other one has gone. It will come back. It will. No, you have not. You have not been allowed to contribute to this one yet. I will allow you if the time allows. The Honorable Member for Dagoretti, 3 minutes each member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'll take this early opportunity to once again, as I had earlier, pass my condolences, and also say that we did have a very tragic event happening yesterday in Dagoretti South. Celebrities. Mr. Speaker, I am a resident of the Dagoretti South constituency, and I'm only a few minutes away from where the disaster happened. For me to be there with my people when a disaster happens does not make me a disaster celebrity. And in fact, for the media, you know that they make and cash out of such disasters because they get airtime out of portraying these images, and it would be wrong for them to castigate a member like Madam Honorable Passaris, who actually left a hospital bed to be with her constituents, who are the people of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, my last minute, I will take it to just invite all honorable members of parliament.
Allow him just 1 extra minute, please, so that he needs to make this appeal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I will take the final minute to just invite all honorable members of this House to assist us in condoling and laying to rest honorably the children who actually passed on in yesterday's disaster, taking into account that some of these families are coming from the lower end of the income bracket in this country, and I'm inviting all of you to actually assist these families as we lay the young souls to rest. No child should die when they're pursuing an education, Mr. Speaker, and this is an issue that we should revisit. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, the Honorable Ashali, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to start by thanking Honorable Sosion for bringing up this adjournment motion, and also take the opportunity to appeal to teachers to leave, given the interest that Honorable Sosion is still having in the education sector. I was going to appeal to the teachers, those listening to me, to let Sosion continue as a Secretary General of Kenya National Union of Teachers, so that he continues to represent the education sector in this parliament. Honorable Speaker, we are discussing this because we lost our children yesterday. And whatever else that we are doing as the leaders, especially those ones from the ministry, they have made the comments, including offering 10 million for construction of a public school because they overlooked what they should have done while regulating the education sector. Honorable Speaker, I think this is not acceptable. We must be able to let these officers account for each action they take. If law was followed, Honorable Speaker, I would have really wished that the Committee of Education sits down to investigate these officers and, if possible, recommend some of these officers being sacked from their position, Honorable Speaker, because this school that we are currently talking about is one in 1,000 schools. We are not talking about the other schools because we have not lost children. Honorable Speaker, if you went out of these chambers and out of Nairobi, you will see 1,000 and thousands of schools whose structures are endangering our students, Honorable Speaker. And I really wish that the Committee on Education takes up this matter to investigate this matter so that they can bring a report on this House. But also, in the same breath, Honorable Speaker, I have seen the media taking pictures of students, some students even learning under a tree. Honorable Speaker, I think for us as members of parliament who oversee the committees that develop schools, I think we are also being unfair to the public, Honorable Speaker. We must be able to use these funds through the CDF fund, the NG CDF fund, properly, such that we are able to take care of these learners. Because, Honorable Speaker, there are so many other diseases that are acquired out of students just learning out of a tree and the environments that are not suitable. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I would wish that the committee.
The Honorable Mashele, the challenge for members is that the CDF funds are finite, they're definite. And you cannot build all these schools in one go. So this is the challenge that I believe members face. The Honorable Mutua Barasa, you have something to say to this.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also wish to support this adjournment motion, and I will want to say two things. One, this disaster has happened. I want to see the ministry telling this country what plans are they going to put in place to ensure that such a tragedy doesn't befall this country again. Two, I want the ministry through the CS Makoha to tell this country what action is going to take against his quality assurance officers who have the cardinal responsibility of inspecting both public and private schools to ensure that the children are learning in sound structures, Honorable Speaker. And even as we send our condolences to the families, I want to particularly remember the Mama Naliaka. This is a lady that I know, the mother of Whitney Wekesa. That child was a very bright child, and I really feel sorry. And if this country was in a place where we have very mature democracies, even the cabinet secretary could have resigned and left office. It is not necessary that the children of this country can lose lives. He should spend most of the time doing things that are going to take education forward, Mostly I hear him saying that even you want to bring a policy where university students are going to have uniforms. I want to tell Bwana Makoha that we have more important things to be implemented in the education subsector, and they should spare this country of theatrics and sideshows. Honorable Speaker, I've just seen a picture of a student, a pupil being crucified that they are taking CRE practicals with this CBC. Every time I travel home, I see these children in sacks sweeping the markets in dirty waters with surgical gloves. And when they will begin to be sick, then we are also going to say that there is something which we ought to have done. And for the first time, I want to tell the Professor that being a CS for education is not being a vice chancellor of a university. He should up his game. He should go down to the machinane and meet with the children of this country and improve so that we can take our education forward, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
The member for Runyenjes, the Honorable Mushangi.
Wanakosa kupata viwango vya sawa vya usalama. Mheshimiwa Spika, unakumbuka miaka miwili mitatu iliyopita tulikuwa na janga kubwa sana ya shule za upili zikichomwa, na tukaambiwa kwamba sana sana ni mambo ya mitihani na kuna uoga kama huo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kweli Wizara ya Elimu ina maswali chungu nzima ya kujibu. La kwanza ambalo Mheshimiwa Sosioni ameliangazia sana, itakuwa vipi basi tuna shule ndani ya towns kama Nairobi ambazo bado hazijafikia viwango vile vinavyostahili katika kuwa shule zetu, kuwa shule ambazo zinastahili kuwa na watoto wetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, waziri alipofika pale jana nilisikia akitangaza kwamba atatengeza jopo la kuangazia kile kilichotendeka mahali. Ruhusa ya kufundisha watoto wetu, lakini ziko katika hali duni. Mheshimiwa Spika, bunge hili lazima lichukue hatua, na pengine wizara, kamati ya elimu imshurutishe waziri kwanza aanzishe jopo la Kenya nzima kuangalia ni vipi viwango vya majengo na viwango vya shule zetu katika Kenya hii. Mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapoangazia swala hili pia lazima tuangalie ugavi wa pesa zinazoachiliwa na bunge za kujenga mashule. Maana yake sehemu nyingi nchini hazifikiwi na hizi pesa. Mheshimiwa Spika, lazima wizara ilete ripoti ndani ya bunge hii ya kusema ni vipi pesa zile zinatumika Kenya nzima. Manake kuna sehemu nyingi tu ambazo hazioni pesa hizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nasimama kuunga mkono hoja hii iliyoletwa na Mheshimiwa Sosiona. Asante.
The Honorable Wahungu, what is burning? You seem to have
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, on behalf of the great people of Kiminini and Trans Nzoia County at large, we send our message of condolences to the affected families, and we pray to Almighty God to give them strength and comfort this particular time. Mr. Speaker, Article 95 of the Constitution is very clear that this House can deliberate and resolve any issue of concern to the people. I'm humbly requesting that we put an ad hoc committee, a parliamentary ad hoc committee, to inquire into this matter, to come up with resolutions. We cannot be debating in vain. And I propose that Honorable Sosioni to be the chair of that committee and 001 there to be the vice chair, so that we inquire into, because parliamentary standing orders allow us to do this. We are not going to be talking about this forever. We must come up with solutions, because it's an indicator that bad things are happening. We have public works. What have they been doing? In schools, we have those people who inspect schools. Where were they when this matter was happening? That means they were sleeping on the...
Chair Education, did you have something to say to this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I indicated earlier on, that the people of Tinderet and the Committee on Education condole with the parents in Ngando, or in, what do you call it, the primary school where the tragedy occurred. Mr. Speaker, the issue at hand is not about talking, it's not about anything. It is about implementing the existing laws, the existing regulations, the existing everything that the government has put in place. Because as we speak currently, Mr. Speaker, the issue of pointing fingers or who is responsible, it is very clear. The quality assurance and standards officers are supposed to be blamed. The Ministry of Public Works, who allowed the structure to be in place, are supposed also to be answerable. So, Mr. Speaker, I know we'll talk up every other time about the issue of who did what, but the issue is, what have we done, especially the Minister of Education and everyone in the sector, have done to stop this strategy happening? Because we are not going to wait and hear stories all through. Let action be done and not allow schools of that kind operate. I thank you.
Very well, members. Just before we close down, I wish to pass my personal condolences to our children who lost their lives in the tragedy in Dagoretti South. It is a terrible thing, and I think we as a house, we have a duty to